in a very personalized way. And perhaps that's where, with all the advances in technology, we'll get to a place where it's not about having everybody's attention, but having your attention specifically. And I want to, again, close with one more screenshot from Moltbook. And I want you to look at it and maybe think about whether it excites you or terrifies you. It's that same thread about the screenshotting. So is technology going to go rogue? Or even if they did, we're already rogue. We've done this for millennia, and we're still here. So why are we so scared of machines going rogue? And why are we so scared when we are the ones who can control them? So think about that as you start putting all of the things into place for solving for that original problem of attention being the bottleneck of human thought. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Narayan. We just request you to please stay with us on stage, allow us an opportunity to invite Jignesh Shah, the co-founder of Think Result, to please join us and help us in giving a token of appreciation to our speaker. Let that applause pour in as we thank our speaker for joining us with his insights. And as he rightly said, the human can control AI, then why are we so scared towards the end? A thought to take back from. Let's continue as he shares his insights. Ladies and gentlemen, come on Mumbai, a big round of applause, please. Well, it's only getting further interesting. Well, through the report, we're confident how digital landscape has evolved. We now shift our focus towards the audio bit. Let's talk about India's attention is turning to audio. And who better than having the head of sales, Spotify, joining us for the same. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the head of sales, Spotify, Arjun Koladi.
I'm good, thank you. This is working? People can hear me? Great. My name's Arjun. I lead the ads business for Spotify in India. I've been there 7 years in a month. Feels like sometimes it feels really short, sometimes it feels really long. After listening to Abhik with all the insights and Amar with all the sort of cool engineering stuff and Narayan with bots talking to each other, you get the chance to hear a sales guy trying to figure out how to actually make all of this happen, right? We've been on this journey of trying to put audio front and center in India for the last 5-7 years. And I have a tough job. I love it because, it's a cool, sexy brand. Everybody wants to talk to you. We have all this culture stuff happening. But the challenge is most of the people in this room don't wake up thinking, oh my God, you know what? I want to do something on audio, right? So our job really is to walk into the rooms, explain to them that, yeah, we do the fun, cool, sexy stuff, but we also do stuff that works really hard. And there is a reason why you should pay attention to what we're doing and how you should apply it in your lives as you think about it on a day-to-day basis. And 3 things that Abhik mentioned really sort of resonated for me. He said attention, he said trust, and he said culture. And I'm so happy because those are the exact check boxes that Spotify also sort of checks. We are going to talk about audio, but you're going to hear a lot of Spotify because in many ways, all the data, all the insights, all the measurement that we've done is from our own platform. But in the interest of actually growing the audio economy, I would encourage you to not necessarily apply a Spotify lens to this, but just think of it broadly as audio and how it fits into the way you think you make decisions in your strategic. And of course, after that, give us a call and then we'll help you further, right? So let's jump in just to make sure everybody has a sense of what the scale is currently as per ComScore. Of course, we don't talk about our internal numbers, but as per ComScore, we are about 115 million monthly active users. Positioned as the 3rd leading OTT platform. Pay attention to the term OTT. There's a specific reason why we use that, and that will become clear as we go through it, because I'm pretty sure many of you, when you think OTT, you don't think Spotify, but that's something else that we want to change, right? More interestingly and more importantly, people listening to audio on Spotify are fans, people who love Spotify. They spend almost 8 times the time on Spotify than they do on social media platforms. This is crazy, right? We spoke about time paucity. I think Harsha mentioned it, that time is sort of is the currency in many ways. And there is all this time that's available, which I'll talk about as well. And it's not just that people are spending a crazy amount of time on platforms that actually make them feel good. What's happening on the marketing side is not really keeping up, right? So we all know that the people that we want to reach, audiences, consumers, their attention behaviors are changing, where they spend time is changing, how they consume media is changing, and always it is the consumer who leads and the market follows. We've seen that in the shift from TV to YouTube, from sort of aggregated portals, etc., to social, and you will see that as time continues to shift, that people also, marketing budgets also move to where people are actually spending high quality time and have attention, right? But every time we try and explain this, we get the same 3 questions which we've been answering, which is, okay, I love the fact that you guys can do it, but where am I going to move the money from? I want to put money on attentive stuff. I want to do cool, innovative stuff, but here's how my marketing is structured, where it's going to come from. So hopefully I'll answer that a little bit. How do I know it works? We've always been, sort of obsessed with eyeballs for some reason. We think that eyes are 10 times more valuable than the ears, which is not true. But because of that focus on formats and eyeballs and screen time, we don't have enough information about whether when we put this money, it's actually going to work or not. And finally, after all that, are there going to be any differences? Is it going to make a difference to my business? What is my investment in audio and this highly attentive medium going to drive for me in terms of the outcomes that I'm focused on, right? So let's jump in quickly into these things. First, if you look at the media choices for people, quite diverse, very fragmented, and also second screening, third screening is happening a lot, right? And one of the reasons that audio works really well is because it is by nature a highly attentive medium. You listen with your headphones on. It's very easy to, like Narayan said earlier, to go take a walk to the loo when an ad is on, but because you can turn off your eyes, but you can't turn off your ears, right? Ears are always on, just like audio. And as a result, what you really need when you're making media plans about where to put your money is to look at where are people coming every day? Where is the habit of consumption really a habit and not just something that I do on an appointment basis? And what you need to look for there is really which platforms have high daily active users. Who are the people that keep coming back to a platform so that I can drive the right reach, the right frequency, and the right impact over time? And clearly, audio platforms have a very, very high percentage of people coming every day because it's a habit. Let's talk about time. I was very interested to see this stat around time spent on the IPL final, 16.7 billion minutes. This is great, crazy numbers. I think India breaks the record on live streaming in sport every single year, and it's amazing what Jio Hotstar has been able to do with that kind of scale. But sneakily on the side, without an IPL final or without needing some big tentpole thing to happen, people are spending about 3 times that every month on audio. It's crazy, right? So here we are looking for opportunities of incremental reach, finding that quality time which is not crowded, which is not sort of, auctioned to the bidder who is able to fight the hardest for that microsecond of attention. It's a crazy amount of time. And as marketers, as agencies, as clients, as partners, we're always trying to find that meaningful, valuable time where consumers are engaged and paying attention. And it's there for us for the taking, right? And it's not just one-dimensional. There's all sorts of stuff happening on Spotify. So, there's video pods, there's an AI DJ. Of course, no presentation is complete without AI. So there is an AI DJ, there is blend happening, there are road trips being powered, and so on and so forth. So it has gone way beyond just somebody listening to a track to being a highly interactive, two-way, personalized, on-demand, multi-format platform, right? And so for your message to land, it has to matter, and it has to matter in the places where people are spending most of the attention. And the reason why it works well on audio is because audio consumption is different. It's sequential. It's when your hands are busy, but your mind is free. It's headphones on. It's multi-device, right? And so you're able to really land stuff that's really meaningful, contextual, and effective. And it's fun, and I kind of have a chuckle sometimes when I see all this attention on attention now, because as Niyati, who leads business marketing for us, and a few of my team members here know, we started a journey with attention almost 2.5, 3 years ago. We worked with Dr. Karen Nelson Field and Amplified Intelligence to measure attention because we knew we would be very, very good at it, and it's true. So we've done a huge amount of dark testing, hundreds of campaigns with Amplified Intelligence, with Adelaide, with Lumen. And we know for a fact that audio actually drives significantly higher attention than most other platforms and beats all benchmarks on attention. And we can measure this for you. So to Narayan's point of how do you know it's working? Well, without the bots and so on, with some rudimentary frameworks that have been together, it can be measured, and we'd love to measure it for you as well. And so what the IPL example tells you is that over time, if you want to be really personalized, if you want to really be a part of people's lives, then you can't just rent spikes, right? You have to own rituals. You have to be a part of the consumer's day, and you have to be meaningful and relevant to them when they're actually living that day and going about their lives in the way that they do. On trust, right? Especially if you look at the younger generation as being the one that's getting increasingly more difficult to reach, where their media behaviors are really changing. Audio is an oasis of calm for them. It's where they go to when they want to relax, tune the world out, take a break, or have a great moment with their partner or by themselves in the evening. It is almost a mental health resource, which means that it is a place where they come to feel good. It's very difficult to say that about media platforms these days, but audio streaming, music, podcasts are places that leave consumers with a very, very positive mindset. And of course, you want to be in that place where your users are in a positive mindset, because that's when it works best for you as well. And we know these trends are happening, right? People are moving away from smartphones. They want dumb phones. My 13-year-old actually has a small Nokia, which he loves. They don't want more doom scrolling. They're being mindful of consumption. So on the one hand, you have the old. On the other hand, you have the new, which is not really new because audio was sort of the first broadcast medium that was invented, right? And that really feeds into the fact that it will always be high attention and high impact. And that's the reason why, people don't just say Spotify, they say my Spotify. That's why people obsessively share their Wrapped cards. That's why they feel embarrassed when that song that they didn't want to be on their Wrapped is actually on their Wrapped, and now they have to put it on Instagram and get ripped by all of their friends. And that's why audio will always be on the home screen. Spotify is the #1 home screened app in the world. Home screen is probably the most expensive real estate with any consumer. And by far, people choose to put Spotify on it because they know that that's what they turn to when they need it the most. I'll skip this. So think of it not in terms of noise and scroll, but think of it in terms of signal and soul, because digital has always had the propensity to be over measured, because there was a metric you wanted to know what it is, right? But the good thing is this isn't radio digitized. It's something completely new, because of the way music and pods and audiobooks and music videos power people's lives, you can learn a lot about what they're exactly doing. What is the context? What is the moment? What is the experience that they're having at that point in time, right? So instead of just being able to say female 27 plus living in Jalandhar is on an iPhone and likes running, audio and Spotify can tell you, at 7 a.m. she is going for a run right now, or she is in the gym, or she's driving back from work, or she's had a tough day and she's listening to this particular playlist, and you could be somebody who actually makes it better. So it's about meaningful connections, and it is about net new time. Because we've been obsessed with screens for so long, we've been giving up on opportunities and forgetting that people actually spend most of their life without a screen, right? And these are the moments where you have never been able to go before, where audio and Spotify can boldly take you now. So whether it's the car, it's the home speaker, it's a watch. I believe there's a Nike shoe with Spotify built in and so on. So you are able to now be meaningfully present in moments that wasn't possible before. The challenge is really for us to figure out how are we going to help you leverage that and take it to the next level in really meaningful ways. And you can follow the consumer all through the day, right? And be really relevant, be really personalized and customized, and be sort of not interruptive, but additive to the way that they're actually living their lives. And finally, to whether it'll work, we've measured it, it does, right? So whether it is for brand, whether it is for relevance, whether it is to visit a store, whether it is on your search volumes, something else. And I think we really have a way to sort of be a part of that trend for the next 10 years in terms of how we change the industry that we are all in. Thank you so much. That's it from me, and 2 minutes to go. So great.
Thank you so much, Arjun. We'd like to take an opportunity of letting you stay on the stage and allow us to invite Narayan Devanathan, President and Chief Strategy Officer, South Asia dentsu, to please join us. Let's have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we have two of our leaders here with us on stage. And we'd request Narayan to give a token of appreciation to our speaker, Arjun Koladi, Head of Sales, Spotify. When it is said, if you clap further, I'm sure it's going to bring a better smile to both our speakers here us on stage. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Arjun, for joining us. Some key insights right there, as he rightly said, that many of us are fighting for that screen time. But why don't we pause and think about audio? Because ultimately it's all about hearing each other out. So thank you so much, Arjun. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, allow me an opportunity to express our gratitude to our partners. Presenting partner, Amazon Ads. Amazon Ads combines premium content, trillions of signals, and full funnel measurement to reach relevant audiences. Streaming partner, Spotify, leading the conversation on attention, culture, and engagement. Powered by partner, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is that network that works for you. Gold partner, Mob Avenue, a global AI-powered advertising, marketing, and consumer growth platform. Gold partner, Huela. Gold partner, Segmento, the audience dataverse. Gold partner, Think Result, digital media and intelligence company. Volt XO, Think Results, gaming media arm. And our communication partner, Truecaller, take the call, the right call. With that, we'd now like to urge a couple of partner presentations to be played on the screen.
Amazon's unparalleled signals, reach, and technology enables advertisers to connect with relevant audiences as they browse, stream, and shop in their everyday lives to deliver results across your objectives through meaningful connections that matter. Access Amazon's wide reach in India with 66% reach among digital audiences across touchpoints, amplified by leading third-party publishers and supply-side platforms. Leverage our trillions of browsing, shopping, and streaming signals to engage customers at each touchpoint, from our video streaming to shopping and everything in the middle. Building on every interaction to bring your stories to life. Drive measurable outcomes for your brand at all stages of the customer journey, from awareness to consideration to purchase. Full funnel advertising at scale for everyone.
This episode is brought to you by Uber Eats. You can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days. A cabana? That's a no. A banana? That's a yes.
Let every slurp unfurl the rhythm you can sway to.
I'm going to open up a six-pack of Michelob Ultra, the official beer sponsor of the NBA.
Thank you so much to our sponsors for partnering with us on the 10th edition, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for us to kickstart with the first panel discussion. Up next, we have a very engaging panel discussion where we're talking about storytelling that builds a nation, purpose, culture, and the new creative imagination. As India's audience universe grows younger, more diverse, and more value-driven, the brands face a creative inflection point. This panel aims on exploring how storytelling is truly evolving. From purpose-led narratives and mindful consumption to regional and women-led creativity, and the emerging frontier of the immersive and spatial experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, this discussion will examine how creativity can move beyond campaigns to build enduring cultural capital and community belonging in the next decade of Indian media. As rightly said at the start of the event, we're here to talk about how the next decade is going to look like. So with that being said, we're going to now transition to storytelling that builds a nation, purpose, culture, and new creative imagination as our panel. Allow me an opportunity to now invite on stage all our speakers and panelists. We have speakers from Eli Lilly and Company, from HDFC Bank, from Huela, from LinkedIn, and SBI Life Insurance. I'm sure all these brand leaders are going to help us to mold our perspective on the current topic. We'd also urge all of you to continue with that hashtag dentsu e4m report as one word. Many of us are very active on social media, and events like these need your support wherein we can propel the thought forward as to what lies in the decade ahead. Allow me an opportunity to now call upon the first panelist. Senior Director Marketing and Strategic Capabilities, Eli Lilly and Company India Private Limited. Please join me in welcoming on stage Gaurav Mehta. We'd also like to take the opportunity of inviting the Executive Vice President and Head Brand Marketing and Communications and Retail Marketing, HDFC Bank. Let's give it up for Ashish Morone. I'd now like to take the opportunity of welcoming on stage the co-founder and CRO of Huela, Mayura Nayak. We'd now like to call upon stage the Head of Strategic Accounts India, LinkedIn. Please join me in welcoming Santosh Krishnamurthy. We'd now like to call the Chief Brand, Corpcom and CSR, SBI Life Insurance. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ravindra Sharma. And it's indeed a pleasure to now reinvite for the moderation. Let's give it up for the Head of Sports and Entertainment, dentsu India. Please join me in welcoming as a moderator of this conversation, Yosuke Murai. Thank you so much, and Yosuke, over to you to take it forward.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm pretty much honored to take a role of the section chair as a Japanese to be here. I'm very much honored to welcome all of you. Thank you very much for taking your precious time for our events. Okay, so the title session is kind of storytelling that builds a nation, purpose, culture, and a new creative imagination. So I think now in India, audience is kind of diversifying, getting younger generations, and also the like regionally developing in a certain, not only in big cities, but in a tier 2 and tier 3 cities. In that case, I think the creativity which brands develops are also changing and also emerging. In that case, I think storytelling has to be also kind of evolved in a certain ways. And I'm sure we are welcoming, we are having as a special, marketing expertise professionals here. I think everybody has a different view and thoughts on those points. So I'd like to take this kind of session as kind of opportunity to listen to your kind of views or future looking ideas towards that. So I prepared almost like 100 questions talking to the AIs, but hopefully I can ask selective questions to each of you now. But start as an opening, I think I'd like to ask a little bit open questions to you. Let me have a little cheat sheet as a font here. So first question is now I said it like as India enters its kind of next decade of growth, and the storytelling is no longer just about a persuasion, but it's about responsibility, I believe. So what is the kind of single biggest shift brands must make to ensure their stories just not for the selling, but also for the not for selling, but genuinely shape culture and trust. So this is more like kind of open question. Who would like to take a kind of answer for that? Okay, please.
So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think the primary question when you talk about culture and purpose is it is not CSR necessarily. And today we need to look beyond just a commercial purpose of the being of an organization to looking at what is the purpose of the organization. And when I say purpose, it is about understanding the category you're in, what is happening in the category. So, for example, if I'm a bank, how do consumers look at money? How do they interact with money? How is money shaping their future, their societal culture, their behavior? And then defining as to what will I stand for? What can I do in this society to shape the culture around money? Okay, to build a purpose which helps people achieve their dreams and aspirations and goals. And as long as I'm aligned with that, I think it's a great way to move forward. And it not only sort of makes my storytelling far more, gives it far more affinity with the audience, but it also gives the sense of purpose to the entire organization to say, hey, when I'm driving conversations with my customers, beyond the commercial aspect, how am I making a difference in their lives? And if you get that right, I think culture follows, right? So I think it's very important to define what your purpose is as an organization, and more to do with the impact you create or you can create in the category that you operate in. I think that's the sort of way to look at it.
Right. Thank you very much. I'd like to kind of elaborate on that after asking you more questions later. But if anyone who wants to take another.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I think, just to add what this have mentioned, that bringing purpose to all the communication, and as a, platform owner like LinkedIn, I just like to, add a point that the responsibility is not just all about the brands only, but I think the responsibility lies with the platforms like LinkedIn to give that purpose, make sure that the purpose is spoken very well, the storytelling is coming out. Like for LinkedIn, the purpose of the organization is to give economic opportunity to global workforce. Yes. And I think that purpose is so strong that it is not empowering only the individuals, but at the companies as well. Yes. And at the same time, I think the way so much of content is available today, there is actually a huge clutter of content How a brand will come up, I think it's more important when the brand is true to its purpose and actually doing the purpose-led stories. And that will come not only just by the platform like LinkedIn or a brand like HDFC, but at the same time, I think the agencies, the clients, the creative agencies, everyone has to come together to make sure that we are there and actually talking about the purpose of the organization to the customer, because then only you will be able to make a difference.
Right.
Okay, I just want to add a little history to it. Why do you need a purpose, or why do humans need purpose? In my understanding is the purpose is to motivate an individual to take it forward. Now, why the storytelling has changed, or why purpose is very critical in my understanding of consumer is that because the generation has shifted. Now, with that, the mindset has shifted. Now, if I go and talk about my parents in India at that time, you know, there is a concept in India called roti kapda makan. Okay, that was critical. So every the consumer or the population of India at that time was focusing on that. Then came my generation. Okay, the idea was that how do I uplift the family from the basic need and requirement. Now is the generation, what will motivate them? And that is where the purpose comes in and builds that motivation, you can say the thrust, which gives them the motivation to pick up a brand, to get attached to a brand and bring that within themselves, that how do I take it forward within my work? How do I take it forward within my lifestyle on a personal level? So that's where the shift which has happened in the generation, and that has shifted the cultural mindset also. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think the flavor of the day and the flavor of the season has been attention. We've been hearing about attention the entire day. And you spoke about the new generation, which is looking at purpose. Purpose cannot come simply without participation. And the best way to drive that attention is to get today's users to participate with the communication they're driving. Simple storytelling can be, of course, amazing, because the more local you get, the more global storytelling happens, because today you see the affinity we have to storytelling happening in south of India, irrespective of our language. We love watching movies that are made in south. That largely comes from the fact that good storytelling and holding to the grounds is very critical, and that's a creative aspect to it. But how do you bring participation of the user in that storytelling is by driving attention, which comes through a lot of engagement. So we are, of course, we believe in that core aspect, and we and all.
Human beings are storytellers in the room, would have been exposed or would have read The Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari. I think one of the first things that he says in the book is like the ability to get behind the thought, really believe in a purpose is what like got the early age Homo sapiens into a social unit and so on and so forth. More than say only safety security related narratives. Even when you look at say behavioral economics, which is all about rationality versus irrationality, functionality has a very important part in how we communicate with our consumers and customers. But when you elevate it, when you take it a notch higher, where a person starts to believe in what you're talking about, that's where the whole irrational love towards you or your brand really starts to emerge. So I think as human beings, we are primed, we are conditioned to believe in the power of elevated narratives, purpose. So it's imperative for all of us in this room to really understand what ticks for our customers and do a great job of it. So that's what I think about it.
Right. So thank you very much for answering the questions. So it's kind of interesting because we see even although like a situation, economical situation or the kind of the culture is so different from India to my home country, Japan, but we still have kind of like a same rooted, samely have a kind of same idea concept regarding the narrative and purpose-led contents and storytelling. So now I'd like to kind of like ask a little bit specific questions to you to your industry. So first of all, Gaurav-san, I'd like to ask one question. So in a healthcare sector, like a storytelling influences real behavior. But how do brands ensure purpose-led narrative inspire proactive empowerment rather than creating sense of kind of obligation?
Thanks for the question. I think healthcare, I've always been in startups, and when I came to Lilly, it was a very 180-degree shift for me also to think about how this sector, which is so central to our daily well-being, is being consumed by, the people who are looking for such solutions. Unfortunately, healthcare hasn't done such a great job in connecting with the consumers, in doing away with the problem statements that they face in their real life when they come across an health issue. I'm like my ex-boss, one of my mentors, he used to tell me one thing, that till the time you're healthy, you'll think of 10,000 things. The moment there's a health issue, then you'll only think of one thing, which is all about your health. And that's the part where a healthcare company needs to step in and really handhold a person. Because it's not just about that person's health issue. It's about the family's trauma that kind of comes through because of that person's health issue. There are social elements, there are psychological elements, there are economic elements, and so on and so forth. So for a healthcare company, it becomes almost imperative that you're giving something for the person to make sure that they can almost in their minds think that, through this piece of content, my emotional security needs are being met. Through this particular piece of content or this particular solution that this healthcare company is giving me, my psychological needs are being met. I think that's where healthcare companies are also getting a little bit more proactive in terms of helping people with their health journeys, because I think this is one of those sectors where there's a lot of involvement from the consumers. As and when there's a health situation that happens, people do go online and they start searching for the right content, solution, services. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are giving opinions which might not be very health forward or science forward, which is where the whole purpose of a healthcare company should be, how can I address each and every need of this particular patient who's going through such a health-related trauma and reduce many, if not all, of them through content and services. So, as I said, healthcare company sector has been a bit slow compared to some of the other sectors that are represented on the panel today. But I do see that it's about to change fairly rapidly. So that's what I think.
I think just want to add one point. I think it makes far more difficult for a healthcare organization to go and tell their brand communication because of the so much of restriction and stuff like that. I think that's where, like I just said, the brands like us or various other platforms helps, and to make sure that the story is told with authenticity and with trust. Like Arjun just mentioned about trust and how everybody is so important. The trust is becoming so important. I think that's where it's come. Like you just absolutely, you nailed it, that this is one of the most toughest sector to go with communication. You have a very tough job to just go and, tell your story when there is so many regulations around you. It's restricting you not to tell that story.
Right. Thank you, Santosh. So I just can ask you one more question regarding that. Now, all the kind of session today is talking about AI, technology, and those kind of things. So it's already kind of discussed in a previous session, but also as a AI and immersive format arises, what should never be automated in a kind of human storytelling in your point of view?
I think, yes, none of the discussion can be completed without the word AI. So yes, I think A couple of things. I would just like to take a step back and talk about AI at a later stage, but earlier the stages, I think one of the biggest thing, the conversation, what we've been seeing through the day and outside this room and in the world is the word trust. I think one that like there is so much of clutter of content across the platforms, you have, I mean, like people are working in dual screen. They are watching a content, reading some content here, listening to something else. So there's so much of content. How do you stand the attention out? I think the trust makes a very important role. And when it comes to trust and then added a layer of AI, I think that makes our life much more difficult. Like I'm just talking about marketers, I'm talking about media sellers or platforms. It makes much more tougher for us. The idea is that, like, I'll give you a very classic example and let's address the elephant in the room. LinkedIn is seen as a synonym for the B2B advertising. And today, our new research says that the maximum number of B2B sales is happening through LLM search. So people are not searching on your search engines. People are not searching anywhere. They're just going and talking to their AI, Gen AI or agentic AI about the services. So that, and when that comes, today LinkedIn is at the top, and the most of the LLMs are taking data from LinkedIn because it's trusted. It's a story well said. I think that makes our life much more responsible for us to make sure that we put the layer out and make sure that whatever the audiences, or I can say members or the companies are putting it on our platform, has to be trustworthy to make sure that this goes outside the world of the AI. Coming back to your point of AI and creativity and content, I think it's far more simple. I don't know whether you've seen LinkedIn today. Writing a post has become so easy because you have a co-pilot, you have a thought, you have to just put a thought and the story comes out. And at the same time, it gives you to review it and go. So the idea is that we are actually being responsible to make sure that we educate our members, our companies, to make sure that use those AI tools to have more and relevant content coming in on your way, but at the same time to make sure that it's authentic, and we take that responsibility of bringing down those untrust, the wrong claims and stuff like that to bring it down.
Right. Okay, I'm just adding my bit, okay, into the concept of AI and creative. Here, I would love to bring the first question again, the purpose. In my opinion, if you really start using AI, the purpose is gone. You may get a tinge of it, but the human purpose, what drives them, the narrative or the storytelling, will get very limited and unreal. So what Gaurav spoke about some time back, that how real things connect to people, that is where AI will become difficult. So I look at AI that it is the child today. Should I entrust the child with what kind of work? Can they do post? Yes, maybe today they have learned how to do post, but have they still learned how to understand the big data and come out with that emotional connect? Okay, can they understand the big data and deliver that purpose and that emotional connect? I think the AI need to mature and reach a level of adult. Okay, and maybe at that time we can have another debate on the panel that whether they can debate, they are able to deliver or not. But today, no, they can't deliver humor connection, they can't deliver purpose, they can't make me cry. Okay, but yes, they can do my tactical work.
So can I add to that? In fact, it's very interesting, and I completely agree with you. I think the best stories are told by humans sitting, catching out together, be it in a village under a tree, or be it friends hanging out in some place, and the best stories happen there. And I think the role of AI, as I see it, is it automates a lot of your grunge work. So all the performance marketing, all the direct marketing that I need to do to convince someone about a particular pitch about my product or an offer that I'm doing is a load that AI can take. And when that happens, I think it gives me more bandwidth as a marketing person to create far more engaging and a lot more stories to engage with a wider set set of audience, which today was limited to that one great or three great brand films in a year, with everyone puts an entire weight behind, right? But the moment my bandwidth is freed up, I will have a lot more engaging stories across consumer segments, which is what AI will help us do. And I think if used smartly, it's just going to, in a way, enhance the productivity of creative output from all of us.
So AI largely will drive scale and speed, but it cannot obviously replace human intervention. But having said that, AI is doing what humans are feeding it to do. So the more and more you feed in, the more and more human-like they can become eventually. So, but all of you as marketers are very clearly stating that you want to free up your mind space to do more intelligent and core things so that the AI, so, people like us talk about AI all the time, and what we do is scale and speed on all the creative legwork output that you are looking at is pretty much what we are kind of complementing intelligent marketers today to do.
Right. So thank you very much. I agree, kind of like as Amar-san was kind of mentioning in his presentation, the AI is just a kind of not just tool, but it's more like a kind of accelerating like a human capability to another level. But it'd be interesting. I should have asked Amar-san to produce one of the panelists from the AI, and then how he is going to react to your points, right? Like whether he's going to be whether understand the kind of storytelling or either they will say we can make a kind of a storytelling by themselves, but yeah, next time we can bring agent AI panelists and have a discussion with them too, right? Okay. So again, Ashish, can I ask you one specific question regarding to your industry? So, from my point of view, I think when a kind of bank become part of everyday life, I think does it carry a kind of cultural responsibility beyond products and the campaign?
Definitely, I think so. And if you look at today, the newest generation, the youngest generation, and also, yes, some of the early ones are clearly looking at experiences in life, right? And when you have passion points across which people are enjoying experiences, which is enabled by money, right? How do I present myself in these situations where I'm an enabler of these experiences, when I'm someone who can help them enhance these experiences? Definitely we can play a role. There are many ways in which we do that beyond just saying, come park your money with me, or hey, take a loan from me to do something. We have a lot of engagement that can happen at the moment of the experience that a consumer wants to live and do, right? Across, which is primarily across the key passion points that drives their lives today. So definitely we see a role, much bigger role than just being a money provider or money manager to all our customers.
Okay, thank you. Now I think let me ask Mayura-san a question. So I think brands want kind of authenticity, but still control the kind of script. So what changes when creators are treated as a co-author, not kind of channels? What do you say? No, again, I'll repeat the question, sorry. So brands want to kind of authenticity, but still controls the script. What kind of changes when creators are treated as a co-author, not a channel anymore? What do you think of that?
As co-authors, you mean when creators are creating content as co-authors, what changes for them?
Yeah.
I think brand safety is, huge, area which is, spoken by most brands that we work with. And therefore, co-creators that are of their own choice that brands bring in on board become pretty much the ambassadors for them. Platforms like us ensure all the possible third-party control systems that you can put in place to ensure that your ads are viewed in the right formats, in the right viewability quotient, in the right content frames. So from that aspect, we we look at it as a very complementing game where brands seek that kind of controlled environment validated by third parties. And we have always endorsed the idea of working with co-creators coming from the brand side.
Do you see any kind of scary on partnering with them, or it's more like a kind of like a being a partner with them is more valuable for the branding?
I think you can take that question.
I'll start answering the first part of your question. Brands don't control the script. Okay. Let me put it very clearly here. Let's understand the personality. Brand X is of a certain personality. Brand Y is of a certain personality. Now, when I am dealing with creative agency, content creators, or anyone else, my brief or my requirement is that you need to work for the personality X. Now, if you are coming with something which is not meeting around the X, my brand, I will not take that forward, because there I am changing as a brand. So in my opinion, it is not controlling the script, whether it is meeting the brief or not. So that's the first part. Now, if I go with that mindset, answer to the question, is there a fear? Obviously, no. If the script or the content creator is giving what the brand needs, obviously I will accept it. If it is not meeting, I will not take it forward. So there is no subject of fear, or that someone is trying to dilute anything, or we are trying to dilute the content creator's creativity. It is just not fitting my requirement. I mean, so that's how we look at it at SBI Life, and that's how we create our content. And we have created multiple contents, for a brand like life insurance, where we connect to a youngster, to middle age, to almost every segment.
Right. Thank you very much.
So I think as marketing heads or brand heads, one of our biggest responsibilities is to make sure that the stakeholders we are working with, be it the creators or the creative agencies or even the media agencies, whosoever are like our partners, they need to understand our customers, consumers' pain points as well as we do, and what are the guardrails we are putting in. I think the best outcomes, once you do that, and I'll quickly share an anecdote. This is back from 2013. We were setting up a company called OLX in India, and we were shooting an ad, and I think the ad agency came up with a tagline called "Sab kuch bikta hai, everything sells." The director who was shooting the ad, and he had shot a couple of ads for us prior to that, he understood what we were trying to do, and then he said, "You know what? Sab kuch bikta hai is nice, but let's just say bech de." And we had no way to say is this good or bad, but then his conviction was so high that this is the tagline that your brand should have for this particular campaign. And we said, okay, let's go with it. And then we did that. And then obviously, a lot of people in this room would realize, acknowledge that Bechte became super strong, and people started to use Bechte in their normal day lingo. So that is maybe one of the first examples where your community of partners, if they understand what you're trying to do very well, they will add things which you haven't even thought about while remaining in the way you want to operate. Bechte became super strong for OLX and became a big brand because of Bechte also. But it didn't come from us. It came from a director who was shooting an ad. He just thought about it and said, I think it hits all the things that you want me to do. Let's just say this. And I think magic happens when true knowledge exchange happens between creators and us.
So if I can just add on to that, I think the difference, the way we see it, is between the large sort of reputed partners we work with, or even when we look at co-authoring or co-creating content, it is a large content creators, right? And those people who have a high follower ways and who are extremely successful. And the reason they are successful is they themselves are extremely smart marketers, right? They understand. And if you try to tell them to do something which does not align with what their personality and the reason why the audience is engaging them with them, they refuse to do it, right? And hence my experience has been is when we work with the large successful content creators, they understand, they align. And I think if we give them freedom, there is more authentic and interesting content that gets created. And the challenge happens is when once I've done this, which gives me reach, when I have to do frequency and I have to look at the nano content creators and partner with them, is where control becomes an issue, right? There are so many of them. They are smaller sort of players in that space and maybe not as experienced as maybe the larger content creators are. And in that's where I will put in far more controls to ensure that the narrative is in line with what I want to do, with limited scope for stretching the narrative or adding some amount of creativity from their side to it. But I think when it comes to larger co-creators and when it comes to large agency partners, I think they are experts in their domain as well. And I think they only add value. Like he said, one director giving me a thought about just saying something in a different way. And when that happened, magic happened, right? So I think that's how I would dissect, saying that look at the larger partners, people who are experienced, people who are good marketers themselves. We can create far better content collectively together.
Right, thank you. So maybe I was sorry to using the controlling script, so it's kind of misuse of the word, but yeah, you were right. So finding creators who resonate with your kind of purpose and storytelling is most important, and it makes the chemistry positively happens is most important things, I think, I believe. Okay. Now next question to comes to Santosh-san. So again, maybe you answer some of the part of this question, but professional identity is becoming more kind of human and value driven now. And how is kind of storytelling on the professional platforms like you evolving beyond careers now?
Yeah, I think I touched upon a bit, but couple of things I'll just anecdote. So I think today on LinkedIn on a platform, there are 15 times more content is produced than a job post. Like one job post and there are 15 different content. So I think everyone is here and creating content. We are seeing a huge surge. So I don't know how many of you know, but India is the second largest market as far as the LinkedIn members is concerned globally. The first being the US. But at the same time, it's growing so fast that we will overtake United States and will become the largest member base globally. And the whole thirst and the whole this thing is coming in from the Gen Z, the people who are just at the age of 16. As soon as they are allowed to make a LinkedIn profile, they are making LinkedIn profile. There are a lot of people who are into college, the people who have just finished the college looking out for opportunity. Like I said it again, and I'll say it, and I'm very proud of that mission statement of giving economic opportunity to global workforce. And I think that is now resonating. It was resonating earlier as well, but now it's resonating even more. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you look at going to a job or you're going anywhere, today I think LinkedIn is becoming your alternate identity. I think people are looking at your profile before you go and meet. It's just not that if you're hiring someone or someone is getting hired and you're looking at who you're going to talk to. I think I looked up all your profile on LinkedIn from last 2 days to just check whom I'm going to speak and what I'm going to speak. So I think it is becoming really very important. So it just not treat that as your a plain simple biodata, but at the same time, a destination, a brand for yourself. And again, coming back to your first question, we all love purpose-driven advertising. We love always, I think today everyone wants to work for a purpose-driven organization. And we're like you just said, you put it very correctly. Roti kapda makan, which is, the generation was before us, was more bothered about the food on the table, the shelter for yourself, and the clothes what you wear. But that struggle is not there in today's generation. Today's generation is actually making sure that they would like to be associated with purpose-led organization. And how platforms like LinkedIn, and there are various other platforms. I just don't want to just talk only about LinkedIn, but LinkedIn will come quite often, 7 years with the organization. But the organization like ours is actually making sure that there is a connection happening between a person who's looking out for a job, SMB looking out for a new customer, the CEO looking out for his next move to an individual. I think that connection is important, and how this connection makes an important role, that the content, what you put it on your platform. Because I'll tell you it's just for a gist that I've heard. I'm from Bangalore. I'm a Bangalore boy, born and bred boy. But I'm just saying, in Bangalore, house owners are actually looking at LinkedIn profile and giving you the house, or deciding not to give. So I think that's where it is becoming very important. And coming to your question, that as in more and more Gen Z are coming onto our platform, I think it's really important that you come and show your purpose and make sure that you're telling your story.
Thank you. So again, as I mentioned in touch upon in our first part, like such a kind of audience is diversifying now, and then everybody has a kind of different point of view and a different story expectation. In that case now, so there's like a not like big mass exist anymore. We have like small mass everywhere now. In that case, what kind of like expectations based regarding the kind of storytelling or purpose building do you have to the agencies? Do you have any kind of expectations on that point?
I think Ashish sir mentioned I think beautifully, the relationship between either a content creator or an agency. I think and most of the agency, and I've worked with Dentsu for like 6 years in my previous role as an agency lead, and now in this, but I've seen that they are the extension of the brand. They understand the brand. And they bring out those stories. So I think, coming back to Ashish's point, I think it's really, really important that how brands are building that connection with the agencies, as well as with platforms, as well as with content creators, to make sure that their story is told wisely. Because there was an idea which just came on the shoot saying that "Bech de." I think that can come from someone who believes in the product or who believes in the services they are working with. So I think that's where the connection it's a responsibility of a brand to make sure that the agency starts seeing that as an extension of their marketing, extension of their storytelling.
Thank you. Ravindra, do you have the view on that point?
No.
No? Good enough. Okay. So now again, like I'd like to kind of ask a question to everybody. So kind of in the next decade, Indian kind of storytelling must protect something above the everything else. What is something that you think that like Indian storytelling must protect above the everything else? What are the things that you have to protect regards to storytelling?
We're just talking about the storytelling, right, and the global. So I'll flip the question, because we work with a lot of organizations who are global in nature, who are big corporates. They have their services across the globe and working. My job is that I work with the global strategic accounts. So these are the big, large accounts. The shift, what I'm seeing is that there are no more communication that this is the creative and this has to run in India without any cultural or nuances. I think that shift is happening, and that shift is going to happen more. We are the largest economy. We are third largest economy. We are the most populous country in the world. We are the biggest consumer market in the world. And at the same time, I think the global brands are also finding it relevant and important to tweak their stories for Indian context. I'll give you a classic example: Salesforce, which is a CRM company. And I think the way Salesforce changed their strategy to talk to the Indian audience by an Indian creative, by making sure that the creative was made for India, for Indian SMBs. They identified Rahul Dravid, who's one of our most dependable cricketer for Indian cricket team. So they hired him as a brand ambassador, and they went and spoke to all the SMBs across. I think that's a great example of how global brands are thinking of changing their strategy, and in the next decade we are going to see a lot of stories, and I'm sure you will also have a lot of stories, because the other thing what we see is that very categorically is that the change is happening from here, because a lot of clients who are global in nature are ready to experiment in India and make sure that it's successful in India. If it's successful in India, taking it to the world. Sorry.
So your question was that what should we protect?
No.
In storytelling, in my opinion, there is nothing to protect, because as humans evolve, the way we spoke in the start, generation shifted. So the way of storytelling also shifted. The only part which remained constant was that, do I have emotion in it? Do I create that motivation for the audience? Am I real? These were in my understanding of storytelling, these have been the three most constant part. Even if I step back and try to recollect the grandmother telling a story, the three parts were there. When you look at brands connecting today, these are the three parts you will always see, they are being there. Another part which I think will remain constant going forward, and in my opinion, we should protect that. Purpose is not delivered only by communication. Okay, purpose is delivered by three critical factors. One is visual, which we talk about or we say is advertising. Okay, which also in today's panel we are using the word communication. Second is digital. How I am going to drive my purpose on the digital landscape. And third is human. How will I drive the brand purpose to the consumer through the human connection? Now, if I'm able to bring my brand purpose very seamlessly in these three pillars, and connect with my consumer, it will have far better result than only limiting it to your communication or the visual pillar. And that's what we do in SBI Life, that if X is my brand purpose with his liberating individual, as a brand we are trying to move away from the fear kind of communication which is usually used in life insurance. So you will see the core of liberation in communication, the kind of ground experience that is created. So for example, for breast cancer, there is a complete drive going on India called Thanks a Dot. Okay, now that's the background or the foundation is how can we liberate the women population of India from breast cancer. Right. So be any kind of activity, communication, human intervention, everything is driven by the purpose. Okay, so that's how we look at it.
Right. It's very so can I just sort of quickly add to that? The way we would look at storytelling or content is there are two large aspects which drive it, right? And one is at a very cultural level, and when you let the local culture seep into it, you'll see across geographies within India, because it's so diverse, or be it against a global sort of country where you'll see extremely different narratives, right? But which are true to the culture. The second aspect, and now what has happened with democratization of content creation, as it goes to the grassroots, the content is rooted in human behavior, and that you will find is beautifully similar across all world, all cultures, all geographies, right? So the way I would look towards my small kid and what joy I get out of it will be similar across cultures. And as we democratize, you will see a lot of similarity happening across, and hence you will see that something that I've created here might very well work and find appreciation in some other country. I think what we will need to be mindful of is that small cultural aspect, to get that higher affinity with my local audience, I have to stay true and ensure I don't lose out on that by focusing only on the human aspect of it, right? And that's something I think we need to be mindful of as we
go forward in terms of our journey of making more and more content?
Thank you.
I'll be very quick. I think more than just say brand or the designations that we hold, I think we just need to understand that we are a part of a very ancient civilization. For quite some time, we have not looked within ourselves for inspiration. I think that part of storytelling is something that we should protect. I mean, like, there are a lot of stories, there are a lot of cues, there are a lot of like cultural anchors that we have within our society. How do we actually are confident about our ability to find those nuances and then tell storytelling, which is anchored, I mean, like through millennia. I think once that happens, then people also resonate very well. So I think that would be what I would like to protect from a storytelling perspective.
Thank you.
I think the engine to take your story, I think the engine that you have to take a story to a larger crowd is something that, is also a level of focus, because obviously with attention depleting day by day, you create a great story, but what's the engine that you're taking to amplify that story? I think that kind of is a beautiful complementing, when great stories are created.
Thank you very much. So seems like already our time is up. So thank you very much for giving all the insights and valuable expertise from your side, and very much looking forward to have to develop another storytelling and also the purpose towards the future to enrich the society in the future, next decade. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Check. Thank you so much to our eminent panelists. May we please request and urge you to step forward, allow us an opportunity to capture you all in one frame, and also allow me an opportunity to invite the Group CMO and COO Strategy of India Today Group, Vivek Malhotra. Let's give him a warm round of applause as we welcome him on stage. Vivek, such a honor always having you on the platform, and thank you for once again joining us. We'd of course first request him to be a part of the frame as well. Let the group photograph continue. We just want all of them together. And we'd encourage all of you to continue those claps and applause. It's always encouraging. Vivek, if you can start with, of course, Gaurav. Gaurav and you in one frame. Thank you so much, Gaurav Mehta. Ashish, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for your key insights. Thank you, Mayura. Thank you for joining. Mayura from Huela. Santosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ravindra. Always such a pleasure and honor having you. And of course to our moderator, Yusuke, thank you so much for joining. And with that, thank you to all our eminent panelists. Well, I'm sure a lot is brewing in, but a good cup of coffee and tea can help us all. So let's get that with a short break of 5 minutes, wherein we request you to grab a coffee and tea and feel free to bring it back. On the other side, we have reimagining growth of Indian media, an intersection of commerce, content and culture. We have leaders from Pizza Hut, Truecaller, Kotak Bank, HDFC Ergo General Insurance, Amphi and dentsu. May we request and urge all of you to join us outside, bring those coffee and tea cups back, and let's resume in the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
Exchange for Media, a name synonymous with the latest news about the advertising industry in India. The Exchange for Media Group, set up in 2000, has the most credible media platforms covering the entire advertising, media and marketing domain, with its highly acclaimed digital, print and on-ground assets. The group's flagship news portal, exchangeformedia.com, reaches over 6 lakh subscribers. Impact, the weekly news magazine from the group, is the most widely read business magazine. The monthly Pitch magazine provides a ringside view of events unfolding in the marketing landscape, along with media and advertising. Another monthly magazine, Realty Plus, is a market leader in reportage on the real estate industries. In addition to niche, bespoke events and roundtables curated especially for discerning clients. Exchange for Media events attract stalwarts as speakers, along with a loyal audience comprising of leaders, trendsetters and opinion makers. Exchange for Media.
so much, everyone. I just want you all to know I normally shy away from accepting awards because I get really shy and I don't actually believe that anyone believes I should have it. But I do believe that E4M thinks I should have it because you guys have been writing about me since before everyone else was writing about me. And I remember those articles, and so I was happy to accept this award today.
Ladies and gentlemen, for all the ones in the pre-function area, can we request all of you to join us back? I'm sure by now we've got our cup of coffee and tea, urging all our eminent audience members to please now join us back. The panel is about to begin. May we request all our audience members to do us the courtesy of joining us back in the main hall. Thank you.
network called Dentsu Creative.
How do you creatively solve a problem or push something in a conversation forward? So I love that a lot.
I just know that's a very representative skill. I think we have some really strong storytelling.
Impact has been the industry's voice for the past 2 decades. The magazine launched industry-first properties like 15 most influential women in media, marketing and advertising. Impact Person of the Year.
I am deeply touched by the recognition and the honor. I accept this wonderful award with a lot of pride and happiness.
Top 30 under 30, which have over time become benchmarks for industry professionals. 22 years of keeping the readers hooked on to its in-depth coverage and analysis. Impact Magazine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to resume back. Can we request and urge all our eminent audience members to please now join us? If you still have the coffee or tea in your hands, may we please request all of you to bring those cups inside. We can all stay seated and let those conversations brew in. May I request and urge everyone to please join us in the main hall as we're all set with our upcoming panel discussion. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can we request all our audience members to please join us back? It's time for us to resume. We've got a beautiful evening ahead. We have an exciting topic and all our panelists are here amongst us. May we request the support of our audience to now join us. We're going to be having some great discussions before we conclude with our event today. And can we have each and every one present outside? If you still have your cups of coffee or tea, feel free to bring that inside. We're about to begin with your support. Thank you so much.
Exchange for Media, a name synonymous with the latest news about the advertising industry in India. The Exchange for Media Group, set up in 2000, has the most credible media platforms covering the entire advertising, media and marketing domain with its highly acclaimed digital, print and on-ground assets. The group's flagship news portal, exchangeformedia.com, reaches over 6 lakh subscribers. Impact, the weekly news magazine from the group, is the most widely read business magazine The monthly Pitch magazine provides a ringside view of events unfolding in the marketing landscape, along with media and advertising. Another monthly magazine, Realty Plus, is a market leader in reportage on the real estate industries. In addition to niche, bespoke events and roundtables curated especially for discerning clients. Exchange for Media events attract stalwarts as speakers, along with a loyal audience comprising of leaders, trendsetters and opinion makers. Exchange for Media.
Well, we can see half of our main hall already full, and thank you so much for acknowledging our requests. May I please urge everyone else in the pre-function area. We know we all love a good cup of coffee and tea, but I think it's more than enough time that we've had that, and by now I'm sure it must have gotten cold. Can we please urge all of you, let the conversations brew in our networking break after these sessions. Can we request and urge all our partners, all our speakers, all our audience members to please join us back. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, one final request for all of you to please join us in the main hall. All our speakers are set, and I'm sure they would love a full audience. Can we urge and request all our audience members, we've got ample time to network post our event. It's a beautiful night ahead once we end the event, may we request and urge all of you to kindly join us in the main hall. This is the final announcement. We're starting after this. Thank you. Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bhavna Bhatia and I welcome you all once again back to the 10th edition of dentsu e4m Digital Advertising Report Launch 2026. We now move on to an intriguing panel discussion titled Reimagining Growth of Indian Media at the Intersection of Commerce, Content and Culture. May I please urge and request all our eminent audience members to stay seated, and just a reminder for all of you to keep your phones on the silent mode. The next decade will redefine how value is created, captured and measured across India's media landscape. As commerce and storytelling merge, subscription models evolve and the brands become that entertainment ecosystem. As India leads this convergence, this panel discusses how India's next wave of growth will come from integrated, trust-led and hybrid media models. With this, may I now take the opportunity of inviting our panelists on stage, starting with our first panelist, President Head Marketing Ultratech Cement and Aditya Birla Group Company. Please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Ajay Dang. I hope the coffee and tea should have renewed your energy. So can we have a bigger round of applause from all of you? And Ajay, of course, such a pleasure having you on board. May I also take the opportunity of inviting the Chief Marketing Officer, Pizza Hut, Manish Gupta. VP Global Ad Business of Truecaller, Hemant Arora. Head of Marketing, Consumer and Commercial, Kotak Bank. Please join me in welcoming Kedar Swami Ravangave. Joint President, Digital Business Group and Marketing, HDFC Ergo General Insurance, Sumesh Surana. May I also take the opportunity of inviting the Senior Vice President, Marketing and Investor Education, AMFI, Puneet Dharamsi. And as a session chair, the Global CXM Lead, dentsu Global Services, please join me in welcoming Naveen Dhananjaya. Well, Naveen, I'd like to leave it in your able hands to take forward with your panel.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have a very esteemed panel to discuss a very intriguing topic, like she said, in terms of how the growth of Indian media is going to happen in the intersection of commerce, culture, and content. We have some very interesting point of views that we had discussed offline, but let me just kick it off with based on what we released earlier today. So the industry is expected to grow at 8%, while the digital advertising media is growing almost at double the rate to make up the majority of the ad spends in the next few years. I would just invite all of you to kind of comment on, based on how India is shifting away from, the traditional reach focused metric, what are some of the key enablers that is shifting from reach to results? What are some of the key enablers? What are some of the emerging trends that you see? So I just want some point of views from each of you. Ajay, if you can start, please.
So I don't think we are moving away. We are still a very, in most categories, as well as for media, I think we are still a penetration market, right? We are not a Western democracy saturated market kind of stuff. And that holds true for media as well. So I think there are other mediums which are doing, and reach is part of the result. I think reach is not a separate piece. I think the fact is that when you had largely one medium dominating, from there you have mediums which have much more capabilities or different nuances to be used. Let's say for digital, you have other nuances that come into play. But reach being a key parameter in terms of achieving your results, it's not gone away. I think it will not go away. It will be one of the primary factors and other factors as well.
Good. Manish?
I think it's not that simple, right? And if you look at the category nuances will come into play, right? For a category which has a larger, decision-making purchase cycle, you'll have to be, build that reach, awareness, penetration, go by those logics. But some of the impulse categories like ours, reach, if you have to do like 3 innovations, 4 innovations in a year, and then keep building reach for each one of them at times doesn't make sense. And increasingly in boardroom, the conversations are about that reach has happened, so what if results have not happened, right? So yes, there is definitely a significant amount of pressures on marketers to look beyond reach, and we are adapting to that new age of clear attribution and clear cycles where business could be attributed to specific channels, nuances. We have talked about RMNs today so much. A lot of those things are also helping you move from pure reach and frequency metrics to other matrices.
Thanks. I think talking about attribution, Hemant, you are sitting on data that is very well attributed in a very different context than the other panelist. What's your comment on this?
So just giving you a couple of comments from my side, and then we can come back to some of these topics in detail. But yeah, first of all, the market itself, I'm still very excited with the India market. I think the growth is there. The number of brands which come up over here. I've worked across global markets, but honestly, the kind of hustle and hunger that I've seen over here is just not available anywhere. We operate in a very complicated, advanced market against the talent over here, which is able to work across multiple things at the same point in time is unbelievable. Our metrics are advanced, far advanced than a lot of other places, etc. So I think the market is yet to grow. The forecast of IMF when it comes to the GDP, that also says that, I don't know if you remember those early traditional days of the leadership multiple that any category would get. The simple thumb rule was 3 times the GDP. So that's what we aim for, right? At any point in time, okay, at least GDP growth rate, and then there is 3 times the GDP growth rate. And that's why I think your digital trend rates are similarly matching. Those don't change. I think from the second point of view, when you come to reach or the traditional marketing principles, I don't think marketing principles have ever changed. The language has. And that's where I start putting a word of caution that more and more when I have a conversation with the marketing side of the table, the conversation is really about outcome. And as I said, that we can dig deeper in this, but outcome to me is still a data-based result. Consumers are still human beings. Loyalties are yet still to be won. Of course, even in an impulse purchase category, because that's where your CAC comes down over a period of time. And I think those are some of the nuances that we are still dealing with. Probably it's our learning phase. Before India actually steps up and starts building strategically, which it currently does not. It's very operational, it's price sensitive, and that's fine. I think that one part which is completely missing, which can give us the substantial growth multiple on one side, and secondly also create models which can be exported globally. So that's my couple of things.
No, good. Kedar, you've been at pioneering initiatives, at the helm of pioneering initiatives of two very different kind of industries. What's your thought on this?
So look, there is a larger trend where media buying is no more just expected to deliver attention. The shift from just giving you attention to orchestrating and driving outcomes is where the larger shift is. And the shift really started when measurement was enabled at scale and real time. And this was essentially the time when brand marketing kind of took a backseat, performance marketing, growth marketing kind of started taking on in a big way. From there, and this is roughly about 5 to 6 years back when it kind of really peaked. From there to today, the expectation of having an outcome linked to whatever you're spending is now getting expanded and expected across the funnel, whether it's just brand growth or mid-funnel or performance. Now that's really where things are, and it's just convenience because it's easy to explain why you're investing behind XYZ, and it stands the scrutiny of a CFO or a CEO. That's the hard truth. The fallout of this trend, however, is you tend to make choices which buy sales in short term, and hence most brands are not able to charge premium over the long run. And that balance is what a great marketer has to strive and bring in. So I think that's been my observation, whether it is e-com when I started building e-commerce in India, or changing the way BFSI is operating in today's world. It's just bringing the right balance between the two.
Very interesting, Kedar. So Somesh, you've heard others speak about scale, attribution, and outcomes. I'm sure you're driving something similar or pioneering something similar in the banking industry. Do you want to just build on what they said?
So I think most of it has been said, and Kedar has explained it very nicely. But just 2 points that I want to talk about. For me, marketing has never been whether traditional or digital. It is about the consumers who you want to reach out to. Now, if your consumers have changed, earlier people used to watch TV. Now they have started watching everything on their OTT platforms or on the mobiles or the small screens. Now you will have to reach out to the customer in the way that they expect it to be, and hence the things have been changing. So I think still depending on the objective of the campaign, depending on what do you want to achieve, you will decide whether it is going to be so-called traditional medium. I don't like that word, but so-called traditional media vehicles or the digital, new age digital vehicles. That's one. Second, obviously, as things change, when we started our careers and the years before that, there was no way that you can measure the outcome. As and when things progress, you start to get some way of measuring the outcome of any medium that you are going to choose. May it be television. Earlier there was nothing, but then something came in where you start measuring television. It could be now that you expect it to be even better, because now you compare it with the digital medium where you on the go will know whether the consumer has been converted or not converted. But obviously things have been changing over a period of time. So I think always as marketer, at least whenever I started my career, we've been looking for outcome. We've been answerable for outcome. It's just that the objective of the campaign, if it is a launch campaign, I will decide who my target audience is, what is the medium that is the best to reach out to the maximum number of people. Versus if I'm running my performance campaign where my objective is to generate high intent leads, there's no point of going out and using the mediums which will not give me high intent leads, and I will have to spend on something like Google. So I think it has been always like that. I would not put it across as things are moving. Yes, you need to be aligned with the consumer needs, and that's why marketeers are aligning to the consumer needs.
True. I think alignment with consumer needs is important for all of us. Ajay, you want to just say some few words on what
So I'll just add from my experience. So we run one of the largest awareness campaigns, right? Mutual funds sahi hai. For us, reach is very important. But over the last year or so, I've realized my board has started asking questions. Okay, mutual funds sahi is in top of mind. We've reached out to so many people, crores and crores of people. Numbers have gone up, but now can we, which the numbers have gone up because the industry used to put in efforts to convert them. But now can we, under mutual funds sahi hai, start looking at conversions? So yeah, we are moving slightly towards that.
Good. So having opened it up with some thoughts of the future, and many of you talked about scale, attribution, changing consumer segments. I think the model itself is evolving. I think as against traditional advertising, traditional subscription. So I just wanted to open it up with a few of you to see what are some of the new models that are evolving in your industry, and how do you see them playing a part in your roadmaps? Hemant, you want to start with that?
I can. So what Somesh said really does strike a huge chord. That at the end of the day, it's about the consumers. True. And while he has a fair bit of thought process that, hey, look, if I'm looking at a campaign launch and thereby there is a certain mix that I use both in terms of media as well as creative, depending on where my consumers are. I think more and more when you look at the models, they are currently, as of today, are from the other side of the table, definitely evolving towards 100% outcomes. They are. But the outcomes are being metricized by a standard conversion metric. The impact versus what really happens to the outcomes. And let me just explain that you take a pure performance campaign or you take a branding plus performance campaign, there is a marked difference between a branding plus performance in terms of getting higher performance or a higher outcome. Now, that's logical, right? Otherwise, it's like I'm trying to woo you as a customer. And the first thing that I ask you is, hey, let's have a deal. No, I have to still sell myself to you. Look, I'm a good guy, wearing good. All of that loyalty stuff is here, and now let me see what can I do for you in your own as I would say personalization at scale, right? So I think when you look at the models, it's actually gone from a perspective of pure outcome, and in our personal experience, for example, we as we stated in Truecaller, we own the trust graph. And there is a social graph, there is a content graph, and then there is this beautiful important thing called the trust graph. And that's where it really starts, because all my life from the time that I was growing up, all the brands said, trust me, buy me, this is what you will get. So I think I've seen a lot of marketing folks starting to realize that, yes, this is an important part to start. Where we can build loyalty in an ecosystem which is uncluttered, and at the same time where trust is the starting value, and then of course either engage or convert.
Trust is a big word, and it needs to be there from an evolving consumer segment. So from that perspective, in the banking area, Somesh, so specifically, is there any evolving hybrid models that you are seeing or you are building towards?
So I think I'm not sure whether what can be a hybrid model, but yes, things have changed from what we used to do, right? Like he said, initially, if I were to do performance campaign, Now there are ways and means that how do it's always been a combination of an organic and inorganic. Now, what is the amount of money that you want to spend on performance? Obviously, from a boardroom discussion perspective, all of us would want more and more organic leads to come in so that it comes at a zero cost and your final P&L looks better. But is it that simple? Because there are multiple levers that you need to look at. If your overall searches are increasing, if your overall traffic is increasing, and hence finally you get more and more organic traffic. Another factor to that is, like he said, what level your brand stands at. I mean, today, thankfully, for a brand like us, we don't need to go and sell HDFC. People at least trust our brand, and I don't need to really spend a lot of money into telling people that you can trust me. At least I have that trust and reliability factor the moment the name itself comes in. So there are different brands that they need to look at differently, because he rightly said, if it is a brand, somebody needs to trust it. We need to go and build that trust and then get into performance. I think there are three things that we need to look at. Obviously, depending on the requirement or the stage at which your brand is, you need to decide whether you really need to go high and invest into brand or not. Otherwise, a combination of a performance and brand is something that works better. It is there we have real outcomes coming in. We can really go and explain and act like a profit center rather than acting like a cost center in the organization. And the moment you turn your department as a profit center and go and tell them that I have spent 100 rupees and I've got a revenue of 200 rupees, which clearly means that I can scale this business tomorrow if you give me 500 rupees, then you can go and ask for more money. So I think that is one model that is clearly coming up with performance hitting in. But the right blend of performance and marketing will entirely depend on the brand that you are and what do you want to sell.
True. So I think we are all talking about consumer segments and changing consumer segments. Just for our audience here, there's a big influence from social on many of the things that we spoke about. So Ajay, if you want to just from your industry perspective, how is social impacting any of these initiatives?
So these are different tools, right? Now, social, you have, I think you're building trust. I don't subscribe to the fact that we are in a business where you build trust and I think then you need to just reap the fruits of it. That's not the game. I think till the time you have consumers, and it'll always be the case, I don't foresee, it hasn't happened in the last 3,000 years, it's not going to happen in the next 2,000. You'll always have shortage of information with consumers. You'll always have shortage of trust with consumers. Brands are always treated as shortcuts for trust and shortcuts for great decision making. In that, you had a scenario where you used to interrupt people and therefore try to have a one-way conversation with them. Today, I think we have more tools in our basket, right? Where you could have people who are people like them would go and want to have a conversation with them. Social comes into play there. You don't want a conversation which is just a one-way conversation. You want a two-way conversation across with brands. That's the piece. You only don't want to have a crystallized, focused, one-size-fit-all communication conversation with the consumers. You need social from a personalization point of view. Yet, is that an answer for most things? It does not provide scale, right? Social campaigns do not provide scale at all, kind of stuff. If you've got to build fame, and fame is a very important part of, I think we undersell ourselves as marketers if we don't take the layers of things that we put across. I think if we all talk about it as brand building and performance, I think there are many facets by which marketers build and are contribute to the profit and the growth of the business. So I think there are different tools. Social enables a certain amount of conversation that you did not have earlier. It also possibly allows a few things to be done, which earlier mediums didn't allow you to do. I'm just taking a small example from our case. home builders in India, which
Yeah.
is 70% of our business, they are about 35 years old, right?
Right.
Now, a 35-year-old fellow has no clue how to build his home, right? Earlier, we used to have a fixed army of a very large army, though, of I think technical experts who would go out and talk to people, right? And help them out because it's a consequential journey, right? Because you need to extend the brand's remit beyond just providing the product. You could reach only a certain amount of people in that conversation, right? Advertising couldn't do the job. Social does the job. So I think there's different tools. I'm sure Puneet does similar stuff in terms of engaging into, because it's a knowledge product where you need to be aware, you need to have amount of conversations with the brand or with whosoever is advertising to, I think, move forward along your journey towards the outcome that the business wants. So
Sure.
these are different tools.
Yeah, I think true. I think in that sense, I just wanted maybe Puneet, since he mentioned your name, about how are you using social to build scale for brands? I mean, in the area of influencers or influencer marketing, do you want to comment specifically from that angle in your world?
So for us, while working with influencers is, there are a lot of regulations around it, and we stay away from them. But overall, influencers as a category has helped the personal finance industry a lot, I would say, right? I mean, you see the scale post-COVID, the amount of content on personal finance that has gone up has led to a lot of adoption of newer products like mutual funds, which earlier people would find confusing. While we've gone there and spoken about it, it is, to an extent, you have to give them some credit, that influencers have changed the game for us and for a lot of other financial services.
True. And while it might be challenging in this, Manish, in your area or in your industry, at least influencers play a big part. And what's your thoughts on how influencers are adding to building brand trust at scale, especially, how they're democratizing it across the nation, how they're going viral, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So obviously the content creators economy is booming, and they're playing a distinguished role in terms of shaping the consumer behavior on their purchase, especially for a category like ours, which is quite impulse. So is weekend kya khana hai? What I see is what I'll decide, right? Whatever I would have seen between Thursday to Friday would be likely choice that I'll make. So there's a brand called Bene Dosa that opened up in Delhi. You can't imagine the kind of queues they are, while there are many choices for similar kind of dosa formats, but Bene, just because influencers have talked so much about it, is like the kind of queues they're seeing is like hours of wait, right? So it's interesting how the narrative can be built and how demand can be shaped. It is building up quite well even for us. So they contribute significant part of our traffic. And when we compare with some of the mega influencers and some of the celebs hardly have any influence left, versus some of these micro really are the engaging ones, because somebody has built authority that I know about food. I'll tell you the best places. So it's a much higher authority than Shah Rukh Khan coming and saying that you should eat this. So that is definitely relevance as well as authority is building up quite well for.
Actually, you touched upon three topics. I don't know whether everybody got it. So you said Benne Dosa, which is a very regional thing, and I come from the Benne Dosa region. You talked about how influencers are moving away from celebrities and how they're making an influence, and how it is becoming more regional as well. So Kedar, you've seen like worlds from a different perspective. Any of these three dimensions on the two worlds that you worked in?
So influencers didn't exist when I was in CPG. This started off when I was in e-commerce.
Right.
And we've really seen how the entire influencers kind of helped sell things.
Right.
So from the days where influencers were leveraged to kind of amplify things at a cheaper cost, to now where we've moved in a banking world to a KPI-led deal with influencers. So I think that's the first big shift that we're seeing. So even with influencers and for driving scale, I think the metric has moved for us from just getting a CPV or a per reel or a per post to directly attaching attributes
on issuance of a card or insurance being sold, or let's say just getting a consumer onboarded, provided you have all digital journeys. So that's one big shift. And I think we've kind of built a tool in-house which allows us to drive these attributions, and hence we're able to kind of scale and build it. So that's one part of it. The other part of, beyond influencers, I think the big shift is we've also let go of our brand ambassador, whom with we have been for like very long. The way consumers kind of relate to what you put out, I think they find relevance more in people like us than the good old days where only certain celebs who could come out and make a point of view. Look at the new poster boys, especially the last 10, 15 years. They've all been people like us who've kind of built stories for India. And more so, even when it comes to everything which looks authentic, everything which is first-hand used. And that is where the role of what most influencers or the larger content creator comes in. Now, any category which has an intersection of high involvement, needs trust, wants to sell more at scale, I think you have a great living models which are about how the content creators have been able to build it. But while you do that, you should remind yourself, trust can't be rented. You still have to be very, very cautious about how this is being used and leveraged. And that's for each category and every brand to kind of put that restriction.
No, very interesting. Thanks. So let's spend the next 5-7 minutes talking about trust, but in the context of an emerging field that is retail media network. And given that a bunch of folks on the stage here are from the banking industry, so Mesh, if we can start on, when we talk about retail media in the banking industry, how are you planning to leverage anything directly retail media or anything similar? And if you are leveraging, does it help build trust or does it erode trust based on the data that the segment of people, majority of the segment of people on the stage has? Any thoughts on that?
I think irrespective of the industry, again, like I said, how do you want to go and communicate and interact with the consumer is the most important part for me. And if you're able to communicate and interact with the consumer and explain it to them, the benefit that they will get out of it, you definitely get the results which you expect it to be. And we've been experimenting. If I talk about the earlier bit, which is influencer, if I talk about retail media networks, we work with a lot of them, and there will always be a set of things which will work for you. There will always be a set of things that doesn't work for you. So for example, the way we look at influencer, and I am completely a convert when it comes to influencer. I never used to believe into this, and especially being into finance, we always used to be very cautious about whether to go or not, because today an influencer is endorsing your brand and tomorrow you will see them endorsing something else. So I completely agree with Kedar. We need to be very careful and cautious in terms of who do we select and who do we want to associate with. But the fact is, what he said, people are relating to that. People are believing in them. And now how do you combine influencers, use these platforms or the networks which are available and go out and reach out to more and more consumers? Today, I can reach out through performance to people only who are coming and searching on those search platforms. Now, the way I am using influencers is we are going micro. We are going to those geographies where I don't get search from. And I am working with influencers and getting to reach out to my consumers and then getting high intent leads and then converting those leads. And for me, influencer is a sales channel. There is a ROI attached to it. Every money that you spend, you need to go and generate revenue out of it. So these are the kind of models, these are the kind of things that you need to look at. Depending on the brand, depending on the objective of the campaign, you then decide which platform you work with or which retail network do you work with. That's what I view.
Thanks. Neet, you've done a lot of work on the retail media network. So in your world or in your case, how have you developed on retail media to kind of develop trust from a consumer perspective?
Yeah. So on retail media networks, we've realized that it is about finding the user when he's in the right mood, when he's in an intent to listen to a messaging which is as boring as mutual funds le lo, right? We tried different platforms like say, e-com platforms, Uber, Olas and Swiggies and all of that. Then you realize that, okay, that is not the platform where the user is looking for a messaging like that. But we've experimented with apps, banking apps, right, who allow advertising to their own database. And because the intent there is finance, he's coming there, to deal with money, the messaging acceptance is much more. The conversions also, we've tried some bit of it, and we've seen that yes, those things work. So it is very important to catch your user in the right intent, and retail media networks of different types help you do that.
Sure. And Ajay, in this, you are talking about retail media. Is that even a thing in the real estate world in the current digital evolution? And if it is, how are you leveraging it?
So I think going back to what Puneet is saying, I think we are trying to take a unit of one consumer that you're going to talk to, right? You're talking to that one consumer and trying to have a certain conversation depending upon the state of mind that person is in, right? Now, counter to what we've been kind of taught that you just need to, if you are visible, you can sell, etc. kind of stuff. I think the flip of it is the consumers are the laundry list of problems that consumers have on their head is a very large one, right? When the consumers are in the frame of mind, then they will see you rather than the other way around, right? It's not jo dikhega wo bikega. I think when the consumer is in the market, I think then they are in the space to see you. Now, once you translate that one-on-one conversation and then scale it up, I think it's a far easier story to think through, right? It's not too complicated. Retail, just because we've digitized, right? When we were kids, right? It's been there for eons. Visibility, trying to sell at the retail medium has been there. We've just translated that onto digital. Suddenly just because we've given it a name, we believe, yeah, we've invented something new. That's not true, right? It's always been the case. The shopkeeper always, whether it was on a grocery store, always had visibility, always had packed stuff to be shown to you. So those principles haven't gone away, right? We're possibly overcomplicate just because we have new tools. Suddenly we are talking about these shiny toys. It's not, right? It's the basic principles remain the same. You're trying to get into a conversation with somebody who you believe has a need and is interested in that. So what conversation you have with the person, at what stage do you have, what is the right tone, tenor to have that conversation, medium to have that conversation. That's all the simple story is.
True. So talking about consumers and discovering consumers, I think let's pivot to the area of technology and how we've discovered consumers over the last, say 10 years or so. We started, and I'm using technology as in search. So we started as search playing a pivotal role in discovering consumers, which was then taken over by the Googles and Amazons of the world as we went into commerce. And then that was diluted by quick commerce of sorts. But it is again coming back a full circle with AI-led search. Do you have any thoughts on how AI-led search is helping discover consumers? Is that something that any of you are thinking in your plans?
So I think I don't ask my team the question, are you on page 1? I think the question that we ask now is, are you part of the answer? And that really defines the way consumers have shifted in the way they kind of go and buy. They are no more browsing. They are seeking answers. And in that answer, if you get featured, then you're part of the search. So geo and the way you would get featured there is very, very different than the way we've all played the last 5 years, 10 years game of being top in the search. Good, bad, I don't know, but does it reset the industry? Definitely does. Does it allow for more players to come in, new players to come in and kind of help brands? Definitely yes. Is it a good way to kind of leapfrog? Certainly, especially if you're not a market leader and you've not been, if you've not invested heavily in the content, now is a chance to kind of leapfrog, leverage AI in a big way and build your own tables, build your own answers. So the big shift is definitely there that consumers are no more browsing. They are looking for answers. And in those answers, if you are able to, have a great story in which it gets featured, more often than not, it's seen as more organic. So I think that's definitely a thing to watch out and build on.
So, Mish, you talked about discovering consumers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I completely agree that, and I said as well, the consumers also have different ways of searching things now. I mean, when I was buying a car, probably in early days, I would just speak with one or two people who understand car better, and then I go to a couple of dealers and decide which car I want to buy. Today, I first go to a search engine and search about it. Then probably I'll go and read reviews, and that's where the influencers come in. Then I also go to the dealers and I speak with them. Then I go to the brands probably, or go to one of these car providers who are available and read reviews so that I get that. And then lastly, I probably now will also go to one of the LLMs and ask them that out of these, which one is the better, right? And then that LLM will give me an answer, and then probably I'll decide what I need to do. Same happens with any category that you talk about. You want to buy a geyser, you want to buy anything that you talk about, largely our behaviors have been like that. So my view is you'll have to be on all the platforms. You need to understand how do you cater to which platform. It is not, or you cannot ignore a search engine because you are now on LLMs. You cannot ignore an influencer probably because there are people who relate to that influencer are believing. If just an influencer is saying this brand I use and this is good and I relate to that influencer, probably I'll also go and use that brand. So this is how it is, and you need to be available all across is one point that I feel. The other thing is influencers, consumers more and more are looking for solutions than just giving me a product. I need solutions which suit my needs. So just to give you an example, we are one of the only insurance companies who've come up with an ecosystem which is called Here, where we do anything but insurance. So you can come there and check challans. You can come there and check BMI. You can come on that platform and probably check where can you take your pet for grooming. And you can come on that platform and check if your email ID has been compromised. Now, it has nothing to do with insurance, right? But we've done this so that people come, we gain their mind share, we interact with them. Otherwise, insurance was one product that I used to buy once and then I used to remember only either at the time of claim or at the time of renewal. Now, if I am part of mindshare, I am interacting and engaging with this customer on a regular basis. Tomorrow, when there is a need of insurance, probably he will think about me. Now, that's what consumers are looking for. I need a solution. I need something more than what the product that you're giving me. Give me something as a value add along with the product that you're giving. And that is what you need to understand as marketer and work towards it. Lastly, I think you cannot ignore the AI shift as well. Just to put some numbers and perspective to it, I get in the last 4 months, the number of leads that I'm getting from these LLM models is 3x of what I used to get. And the conversion rate is almost 3.5x of what I get on any other search platforms. Now, while the volumes are less, but this will over a period of time grow, more and more people will go to these LLM models, and you'll have to be ready that how do you kind of feature on those LLM models as well. So you'll have to crack it and you'll have to figure out what you need to do. So AI is real. All of these consumer changing behavior is real, and you need to adapt as marketer is what my point is.
No, context and reasoning is definitely helping LLMs get more leads and helping in conversion as well. Hemant, in this context, AI search, is that something that is influencing how you are looking at things? What are some of the unique assets that you may have that is influencing this change from where you stand?
Yeah, so I'll talk about 2-3 things over here. Where do we really use AI? So we have seen the shift to voice. So today, if you use Truecaller as an app, you have an AI assistant now. That was not existent earlier, right? Somebody who can take the call on your behalf and answer back. Secondly is that, yes, we use AI tools on our advertising solutions. We have Truecaller Advantage, which is just that optimization solution, right? There is an input which gets optimized much faster than anything else. But I think more than that is our stronger focus on the entire thought process of trust. Because see, when I break down artificial intelligence, what goes on in consumers' mind is that, hey, there is a lot of data which is being processed now, much faster now. I don't have control over it. And I think that becomes a huge key point, because that's where AI really takes shape, that how is it affecting my consumer at any point in time? What are they thinking about it? So now it has to be permission based, and more so, very, very strong focus on that, that your purpose of, like in our case, we say that we will provide safe and efficient communications to all our consumers. Can I take your data and really spam you back? No, I can't. It's easy money, lazy way of doing it, but sticking to the purpose becomes really important. And that's why probably all the brands also find a safe space over here. I heard some beautiful words, and I think it keeps coming up, whether it was yesterday, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow. While as human beings, we will always look at the fastest way to convenience, and that's why technology will keep on evolving. On the other side, authenticity is really important, and we need to really break that down. What makes it authentic? And that's really, really important. And I think that's where the buck stops with all of us. It's AI is just not a tool. AI is reshaping the society in a much larger way. There is fear, there is hope, there are aspirations, there are ambitions, all of it sitting down on one single thing. Can I trust this? And that's about it, I guess, to a larger extent.
Well said. Just from in the interest of time, what we can do is, just for our audience, we've talked about how the shift is happening. We talked about social. We talked about some of the newer hybrid models that could potentially evolve. We talked about technology, specifically AI search. If there is one thing that, and it is changing so rapidly, I mean, every 2-3 years, something is changing. I mean, at least in the last 5 or 6 years, there have been so many shifts. So I know we are at our 10th anniversary. Over the next 10 years, if there is one thing that we should look out for, 10 years is a long horizon, but even anything that we should look for, if there is one thing that each of you can comment on how this specific industry will change, what would that be? Ajay?
When things are changing too quickly, what do you ground yourself to? You ground yourself to stuff that is not changing, right? Foundations, right? So the one thing within our business which has not changed and will not change is the human search we were talking about, which is the first search engine and continues to be the first search engine. You'll type on the mobile later. I think first you occupy some real estate in somebody's head, right? So I think that principle you will hold true, and you focused on that very basic stuff that you are trying to get the consumer is trying to get slightly ahead in their life, solve a problem. I think being useful, doing interventions so that with all the available tools, could be AI today, tomorrow it could be, I think, greater versions of that entire thing. The piece is you are on a quest to solve somebody's problem. If you are being able to be useful, I think that's a really, rather than doing intervention, that's a fairly simple and easy formula. Yeah.
Sure. Anish?
I think future is quite uncertain, so I won't comment on how it will happen. But I'll just say that the human spirit, which is the resilience that it can figure out solution for anything. No one had thought with COVID kind of situation how business will run, but it ran, right? We figured out work from home, Zoom meetings, and God knows what all, right? So I'm sure whatever the uncertainties throws at us, we'll figure out a solution.
Sure. Samesh, you want to just add to this about?
So if I understood right, you're saying what will not change or what will change?
What can we
expect after 10 years? I think AI is for real, and we've seen things changing whether we accept it or not. Some of the industries might not want to accept it right now, but each and every place there will be an intervention of AI, and you need to now start living with it or accepting it and say, how can I enhance my consumer experience? How can I enhance my product delivery? How can I enhance my service experience, in our case, claim experience, with the use of AI? And we've been doing it since last 7-8 years. Today, if you want to inspect your car, earlier there was a surveyor who was going. Today, I can do it in couple of seconds by just reviewing the images, and that also an AI engine model is sitting and reviewing it. So it is for real. If I'll not do it, somebody else will do it and they'll move ahead. So in my view, in the next 8-10 years, you will see absolutely different way of delivering the experience to the consumers, and you'll have to be a part of it.
Puneet?
For us in financial services, I think it is building trust, right? And building trust in the era of AI becomes all the more important because you cannot make out what is real, what is AI. Right? I think that is going to play a major role over the next few years in financial services.
Thanks. Kedar?
So I think agentic commerce,
interesting.
I believe, I don't know about 10 years, but for the next 4-5 years for sure. And with agentic commerce, the behavior shift from browsing and searching and doing it all by yourself to delegating it to agents, which of course come with a huge amount of trust and ability to kind of know that whatever information is being shared is being used in the right way. So that's the shift from browsing to really delegating. And in that world lies the change for us, for content, for media, everything, because you then have to think about how your content and how your media is influencing the algorithms as much as they influence the human beings. That's exactly what happened to search. And we all kind of, tried gaming the algorithms in some way 4-5 years into the system. So I think agentic commerce is where I'll put my bets on.
Interesting.
I know time's up, so I'm going to make it very short and quick. First, 1 year is operational foresight, 2 years is strategic, 10 years you have hit the philosophical chord now. So I'm just going to go that way. So 10 years down the line, what I do see happening is this panel is being conducted and attended by some super intelligent beings. We are probably outside partying somewhere and we are completely okay with that. And that is the change. That is the handover, where human beings are following something far more, this is very creative, I'm not saying that, far more creative than daily lives. And that is the enablement that we give of coexisting with AI.
No, good. I don't want to build on that hangover. I think it's good food for thought for everyone. And it's been an interesting discussion of what the current is and what the future could be. So thank you everyone for a very good discussion. Thanks.
Naveen, whilst I'm sure all our panelists are here, there's just one request from the team side. If you can just take one audience question, if that's okay. Since it's been a very insightful panel and our audience hasn't got a chance so far, we'd just like to open the floor for any audience questions. If you do have, please request you to raise your hands and we'll get the microphone passed to you. I know it's an able audience, so you've been seeking questions from the very start. Do we have any audience questions? I'm usually good at reading faces. Currently, it looks like either we are completely satisfied or we have no clue. All right. Next. All right. I think on that note, since we wanted to give the opportunity, but we don't have the audience questions, we're going to be now requesting our panelists, apologies, if we may request you to please step forward. Allow me an opportunity to call upon the co-founder and CRO of Oella, Mayura Nayak, to please join us and help us in giving the token of appreciation to all our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving her a big round of applause as we re-welcome her. Thank you, Ms. Nayak. And if we may request you to first give it to Ajay. Ajay Tang, thank you so much for joining us. Manish Gupta. Hemant Arora, thank you so much. Thank you, Kedar Swami, for joining us. Somesh. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. And thank you for joining in. Thank you, Puneet. Thank you for joining us. And thank you so much, Naveen, for moderating. May I request all of you to please join us ahead. Allow us an opportunity to capture that perfect moment. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue to request you to post this with the hashtag dentsu e4m report as one word. Today we are here for the 10th edition. At least let's give a bigger and a mightier round of applause as we acknowledge all our leaders here with us today. And now we're moving towards the finale part. And what is that conversation that we are eyeing? Moving ahead with the last session of the day. It's a panel discussion on from personalization to prediction. How Gen AI is redefining customer experience and marketing ROI. A great conversation at the end to conclude with. May I request and urge all of you to continue with the hashtag whilst you get time, and of course post this event. We're going to have a beautiful evening of networking. And as we do have a couple of minutes on hand, our team is requesting us, and we're going to be showcasing one of our partners before we begin with this presentation. So can we have a partner presentation on the screen?
Amazon's unparalleled signals, reach and technology enables advertisers to connect with relevant audiences as they browse, stream and shop in their everyday lives to deliver results across your objectives through meaningful connections that matter. Access Amazon's wide reach in India with 66% reach among digital audiences across touchpoints, amplified by leading third-party publishers and supply-side platforms. Leverage our trillions of browsing, shopping and streaming signals to engage customers at each touchpoint, from our video streaming to shopping and everything in the middle. Building on every interaction to bring your stories to life. Drive measurable outcomes for your brand at all stages of the customer journey, from awareness to consideration to purchase. Full funnel advertising at scale for everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, generative AI is pushing customer experience beyond personalization into an era of prediction where brands can anticipate needs, intent, and outcomes in real life. By combining the large-scale data, the models, and continuous learning, Gen AI enables smarter journey design, proactive service, and next best action marketing across channels. Today we're here to witness that shift in redefining how CX drives marketing ROI. Because one of the key parameters, what we had spoken about, and of course, even Dr. Anurag Batra at the start had highlighted, is how do we measure the ROI. So with that being said, let's highlight that towards the finale segment of our event. Allow me an opportunity to first of all call upon our speakers, starting with the Senior Vice President, Growth Marketing and MarTech, HDFC Bank. Please join me in welcoming Deepak Oram. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, a bigger and a mightier round of applause as we welcome our leader. May I also take the opportunity of inviting the Director of Franklin Templeton, Chooser Tambawala. Let's give him a warm round of applause. The Chief Growth Officer of Equirus, Sandeep Walunj. Head Strategy and Client Success, Think Result. Please join me in welcoming Niyati Mehta. And ladies and gentlemen, for our session chair, the Chief Business Officer, Financial Services and FinTech at Dentsu. Please join me in welcoming Hemant Shira Sagar. Let's give him a warm round of applause as we welcome Hemant. Well, Hemant, the finale part, we're on the 10th edition. I'm sure everyone's keenly looking forward to the curation of this particular panel discussion. We look forward to your expertise on the same. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for staying this long here. And we are the pot of gold at the end of rainbow that your parents told you about. So thank you for staying so long. So the topic we have picked up is for actually personalization to predictive, the impact of Gen AI, a lot of words that very few people understand, kind of like theory of relativity. So what we are going to do is this particular session, the approach we'll take it is one, we'll keep it first principles so that it is very, very easily understandable. And because we have so many practitioners here, we'll make it a practitioners dialogue rather than keeping it at a very, very esoteric level, where it tends to be when you talk about Gen AI. Now, when you talk about Gen AI and the impact on personalization or prediction or anything, and this implementation, there are 4 levels that we can talk about, and those are the 4 levels that we'll talk about it today. Number 1 is how does it fundamentally change how we think about the strategy on this? Number 2, it is a point to be sold to the CEO that is it incrementally changing things or it is just buzzwords to win awards and then go back home? So what is actually the business case around that particular topic? Number 3 that we'll discuss on this would be if this has to be made a reality, how does the tech stack or the operating model change or has to be changed to actually implement it? And 4th, very important because it's a lot of financial services here, the impact as far as governance is concerned, biases are concerned, which it might have, and we need to protect against it. So that's how we are going to structure the entire conversation, starting right out the CEO conversation and going to the bottom of governance and implementation conversation. So on that, let me start with Deepak. Deepak, we have engaged multiple times, brainstormed on this particular topic. So, and you have good hold of this particular topic. So let's start with thinking when we talk about that we are actually moving from personalization to predictive and it's an impact of Gen AI, fundamentally what it is.
I will not go to predictive. I will not even go to Gen AI. Let me first start with the problem statement.
Perfect.
And why AI is facing difficulties today. AI is facing difficulties today because people are scared. People think it'll take my job away. So people resist it, right? So that is why AI adoption is failing a lot, because this is misconception that it will replace you, which I believe is incorrect, right? And that is step 1 of figuring out how to get value out of it. If your people are not willing to adopt it, then there is no way you're getting value out of it, right? So on this thinking, what we have realized is a large financial services organization. What is it that AI will solve, which will not replace people, but augment people, right? When you buy a financial product, you are not buying it on impulse. You're not suddenly going and saying, I will take a big home loan of 2 crore rupees. It is not an impulse, right? It is not an e-commerce purchase. There's a lot of due diligence that you do, right? There's a lot of exploration that you do. Now, is there a challenge that we have as marketeers where we are not solving for the customer's due diligence? There are typically 100 to 200 questions that you ask before you take any loan, for example. Investment, similar. Any high involvement product. We as marketers, are we able to answer those 200, 300 questions in detail? Are we able to do it on all our channels? In all our mediums, in all formats? Video, voice, text, email, WhatsApp, what have you, right? We can't. We don't do it today. So hence, why can't we do it? We can't do it because it's simply humanly impossible to do. This is the story that I like to tell, saying that it'll augment the marketeer, because a marketer today can't answer beyond 30, 40 questions. How about 400, right? You can't. Why should you buy a home in the first place? What is the documentation involved? How do you repay it? Is repayment going to impact your CIBIL score? A non-repayment? There are 400 questions. We can't answer this today as marketeers, but with Gen AI we can. So that buying behavior that you want to induce requires you to answer all these questions, and answer these questions in a video, for example, not in a textual format or FAQ, right? So this is an area where we cannot perform our jobs today as well as marketeers, but it's still part of the funnel. So we must solve for it. And this is where the marketeer will get enabled and supercharged with AI. And this is the value proposition that I will take to my CEO.
Got it. Got it. Zuzur, when I think about this and my interpretation of how I look at this transformation is at the most fundamental level, one, we are now able to make sense of a lot more data than what was possible from traditional AI. Number two, it will enable us make decisions at a faster pace and at bigger volume. And number three, then at Gen AI level, it also takes action, which we would not have taken at that pace. Now, considering all this and considering the industry you belong to, if you have to list down the core key decisions on which you see this having an impact across the customer journey, if you can just list down the decision that you think, for example, is it product, is it pricing, is it an offer, what exactly changes which will have the highest impact in your mind?
So I think it changes at all levels, right? So I don't think that AI typically impacts one aspect of the whole business funnel. I'm not going to restrict this conversation to a marketing funnel because then that gets to be very restrictive. But from a business funnel, I don't think it impacts just one aspect. It impacts pretty much all aspects of the business. I think what I'd like to also take a little bit of a crack at the question that you posed earlier, which is, how is it really different? And I think you when you introduced the panel, you made a very pertinent point that not too many people really get it. Let me tell you that I like to put myself in that position that a lot of us, at least I don't get it completely because it's a really exploratory environment, right? But if you look at the traditional marketing route, it's very journey based. It's very action oriented, right? To say that, well, okay, if I send out an email, I'll probably have three options. Yes, no, maybe. If he clicks yes, go here. If he clicks no, go here. If he clicks maybe, then take the person somewhere else. I think where generative AI really makes it more competitive or rather more impactful is to move this conversation from action to outcome. Right? Because an action is not an outcome. What you're really as a business leader looking for is an outcome. If you look at a very simple example, typically as a marketer, what you do is that, well, if somebody bought an apple on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your prediction would be that, well, on Saturday also the person will buy an apple. I think that's how we've all, in a sense, really operated. But with AI, what you can really do is to not only just say that, well, is he going to buy the apple? But also, what's the apple going to be used for? Is it just going to be used as a fruit? Is it going to be used as salad? Or has the weather changed and he'll probably actually not look at an apple, but maybe even consider a grape, right? And that's where then the impact really starts flowing. And I think it's about organizations then trusting, the outcome that the AI is trying, because obviously, when you look at the outcomes of AI, like today, if I had to write a poem, today, if I put out a ChatGPT prompt on my dearest friend in the industry, some Sandeep Balwant, to write a poem on him, it will do it, right? It will do it, and it'll do a damn good job of it. But the question is, how much do I trust it, right? And that's where organizations really need to evolve. Marketers as ourselves really need to evolve, because when the prediction starts becoming very accurate is where you really start questioning the efficacy. Is there some magic happening that I don't get, or something that they haven't told me that they know that, and that's why they have been able to predict it so well. But I think we're going to get to terms with this. These are early days. It's like, imagine if you were 50 years ago driving, or 100 years ago if you were driving a car, you'd be very, very skeptical about how the car will actually perform. So I think you're going to take it as it moves along.
Understood. What I get in a simplest form, my understanding of what you just said is, in a sophisticated way, saying is it was very rule based. Now it becomes more outcome based. Of course, it is pretty much like earlier when I used to hire, say, analytics is a junior guy that I hired who will do a task. There's now more a senior person that I hired who will actually make decisions and just come to me for verification, yes or no. Sandeep, please go ahead.
If I can just add to the whole discussion from a marketing lens, because coming from an FMCG background, not a
I have
BFSI
feeling that this is
background.
getting more philosophical than marketing, but please go.
I was just going to say that consumer is king is what we have been hearing since last 20 years. But when I was working on the marketing side in FMCG industry, it was just, a gimmick that we are saying consumer is king because everything is mass marketing. Everything is, you collect a lot of data, but what do you do with that? You collect a lot of insights, but what do you do that? You are completely helpless in terms of actions and predictions. I think AI really, truly makes consumer is king possible because now you are able to convert that data into insights, into actions, into predictions, which is what makes the whole ecosystem powerful. So GenAI is probably not a tool as what we have been hearing since morning. It's actually an ecosystem which makes consumer at the center. And we are all trying to serve together to that consumer. That is what makes it most powerful.
Sure. So Anipal, I would like to take slightly opposite view from what we are talking about. Like 4 or 5 years back, there was massive conversation in the market about robo advisory, about financial planning using robo advisory. So basically, robots making decisions, advising here, invest there, etc., etc. Startups came up, and we thought it would be successful, but we realized even today, in a lot of the investment, it is not just the intelligence, but a lot of time a person sitting in front counts, and hence it shifted to bionic advisory and etc. Now, considering this wave starts coming, and your industry is primarily around decisions, helping the customer understand where to invest, etc. How do you see this impacting that industry, and will it go the same way, where it will become an augmentation to existing advisor, as Deepak was talking about, or is there a potential that a significant proportion shifts to a completely automated GenAI driven advisory, given it will be much cheaper and the base of people that you can serve today increases compared to actually people driven advisory?
No, that's a lovely question. I think there are three things here, right? First of all, like user went back to the origin, I think it's very important for us to understand what exactly does this mean, right? To me, it's a complete paradigm shift, right? From chasing clicks almost half of my career, now I am looking at predicting outcomes, right? So that's a complete paradigm shift. Now let's come to wealth management, right? Especially the advisory part of wealth management. There are two aspects to that. There is a left brain and then there is a right brain, right? Most people don't get it. I mean, those who believe that it can be automated are possibly leaving out the emotional aspects of investing. Right. So, I mean, to quote Warren Buffett, he said that investing is simple but not easy. Right. What he means is that it looks fairly logical, but then the emotions come in, and the human fallacies and bits come in. So from wealth management perspective, generative AI helps us big time in terms of understanding the background, understanding the intents. As I said earlier, and Joseph said that, I mean, earlier it would be fill in these questions, and, the same journey would take place on last Friday as on today, right? But with generative AI now, the journey will take into consideration that the budget was presented on Sunday, and the silver and gold has tanked on Saturday, and the market tanked, on Sunday, and there has been STT. And therefore, those portfolios which had good amount of broking, etc., are looking whatever. And this customer has broking, and then therefore I will, change my answer. Right? This can be done by a human being, and it is done by human beings. But what happens is, in a hybrid model that someone like us follow, the RM or the person who's answering that customer gets to see that, hey, this is what has happened. This is what's probably the person calling you for, and you are ready with your answer. Right? To the extent that, yeah, I mean, I know that this person is going to now call and say, what do I do with the silver that I have kind of accumulated? Correct? Now, that was not possible hitherto to automate it. Right? And that is definitely possible now. But third point is that does not take the human angle at all.
does not take the human angle away, right? So because like in this example, generative AI will confuse you. It will give you the factors for, selling off your silver and factors for holding on to the silver. But only a human being will understand that Hemant is, Hemant, right? Is risk averse and user is a risk taker. So my answer to you is going to be different completely from my answer to him. To that extent, until and unless the artificial general intelligence come in, we would have to be dependent on hybrid systems.
Got it. So this conversation become
add to what he said, and rightly so, right? Because I think a lot of times we believe that investing is the outcome, and investing is not the outcome. Investing is the action. Wealth creation is the outcome, right? And if you read a very interesting book, and he's a very famous author called Morgan Housel, who's written Psychology of Money, he says that creating wealth is dependent on the behavior that you display, not the actions that you take. The actions, yes, and he's rightly put it, is a function of all the information that you've got around you and how well can you really synthesize that information. But creating wealth, okay, is completely based on human behavior and how you behave after you've taken those actions. I think where does generative AI come into play is particularly if you're a robo-advisor or a digital wealth manager, is your ability to synthesize that information for customers in a personalized manner, right? So I can do that at scale. I mean, if I was running a wealth management outfit with 100,000 clients, unlikely that I would be able to throw bodies on the road to say, and I'm sorry I put it that way, I'm unlikely to say that I would have RMs who would then go and start servicing 100,000 clients. Very difficult, because that's not a scalable model. Well, a generative AI tool could obviously scale that very well. But don't blame generative AI for poor wealth outcomes. Poor wealth outcomes are not because of information that you take, sometimes even decisions that you take. You may take the right decision, but if you don't behave after you've taken the decision, I think, so like simplistically put, you say that, well, start an SIP. That's the decision and the action that you've taken. But if you behave in a manner to say that, well, in the 12 months, I'll stop my SIP 3 times because markets went down, that's poor behavior. And then you will have a very poor outcome when it comes to wealth creation.
Got it. Just a disclaimer, because this is getting too close to investments. So none of the conversation being done here is investment advisory. It is just for understanding. So please take your investment decision yourself. This has become a little FS heavy, but Niyati, even in the ad tech space, for many years now, and now a decade counts like many years for sure, generation, the approach has been very simple. There are X number of publishers, you need a certain customer, you go behind the certain customer, the ads get placed on those publishers, and you get a CTR or whatever, right? Given this comes in, and the extremely high demand the board nowadays has on saying, show me on every dollar or rupee that I'm spending, what is the outcome which is coming. All branding, etc. is good, but at the end of the day, how many customers, what revenue, what type of customers, in fact, what type of customers is even more important, considering you can acquire a lot of customers, but they not generating revenues for you. So given that, how do you see the ad tech space itself changing to leverage this particular tool to deliver the outcome, not for the customer, but in this case, for the organization itself?
So, like any ecosystem, there is a back end and there is a front end, right? And the front end is always very glamorizing. We all like to see outcomes. But I think the most important thing is the back end, which is where, what are we plugging into the system? And that is what is going to make the difference in the outcome. Like every ad tech space, here also backend is the most important thing. So what is the foundation on which we are creating the ecosystem? And that becomes the primary data. If that is powerful, that is going to generate the kind of results that we are talking about at a personalized level, not at a mass level. So having a kind of a backend which is fundamental, which can stand on its own leg is the most important thing, which is where we are evolving the most, and which is what is going to bring out the major difference. I'll give you an example. There was one recent campaign that we did for a premium auto car company. I'm not going to name the client, but their cars are in the range of 80 lakh to 1 crore. We ran a very small campaign, just like a tester, a 10 lakh campaign, but it was an awareness building campaign. But what we could do with that was drive footfalls to their store. And not just that, we sold like 2 premium cars in a span of 1 month with a budget of 10 lakh. Now if you look at ROI, just measure, it's like sky high, right? But it all is possible only because the foundation is the solid foundation on which we are building the whole ecosystem.
Got it. Got it. This brings me to a conversation I was having with a proprietor, and I've felt that business conversation with a proprietor or founder are the most insightful, because like a typical consultant, I was going on about fancy words and things happening. And he says ki bhai kitna milega aur kitna lagega. So that's my question to Deepak. Deepak, as you think about internally, and SDFC has always been an organization that has taken the front seat when it comes to innovation, but it has been a very thoughtful investor as well, if I put it that way, which shows in the quality of the book as well. So if you come to that, I'm sure your CFO or whoever, once you start investing in AI, as you have been for a very long time, would be asking for a business case of saying what exactly you want to invest in. So if you have to take like top 2-3 examples in your mind going forward, would be the best use of this technology that will give you the maximum bang for the buck? What would be those 2-3 things that you've thought about that you're taking to your team?
So the good thing about marketing at HDFC Bank is that we are not just doing brand. We are also a channel. So we do end-to-end conversions of customers via organic digital, paid digital, earned, the classic channels in marketing or digital for that matter. So what that gives you is a railroad. So if these many people come to your website or your mobile app or open your emails, there's an equation that forms that a certain percentage of this becomes this much money at the end, right? Right. So it is nothing but a funnel. Top of the funnel, how many people came to your digital properties or interacted with your digital media? And then what is the business at the bottom of the funnel? Obviously, that's very simple, but there's a big middle right side there, right? There's investments, there's creative, there's orchestration. It is the challenge, and what we do, like almost like osmosis on the marketing floor, is this part, the middle part, but we optimize for everything, right? Now, like I said, one of the biggest challenges that someone faces today is how quickly you can iterate a not working campaign into a working campaign. Sometimes it is not systematic. Some people will want to change the creative that is actually working. And sometimes the creative that is not working is forgotten. So that's the use case for my CFO. Right. Saying the space at which 300 people can iterate across, let's say, 100 segments and 5 channels is what the current state. What about if you make the segments 10,000 and the channels 8 or 9, and the type of media going from just a FAQ page or in the buying journey to a bunch of videos? If you introduce that kind of complexity, what will happen to the funnel? The not working not only gets fixed faster, but it's available for a customer who probably likes video more than a landing page text. The funnel improves. And we've done the math on this. A lot of people think that your next brand campaign will come through AI. That I don't believe in that. It can come, but does it have ROI? No, I'm not sure. The middle part where it is continuous iteration and marketing sweating it out, is where the segmentation, which was now bottlenecked at 100, 200, 300, and medium bottlenecked to 3, 4, 5, can now just explode. Once that explodes, obviously the funnel will improve. And from our calculations, the ROI is not even funny, right? I mean, if I look at the token costs, right, it's fairly cheap compared if you have a large funnel and if you have a large brand also. That the brand being large helps us. Smaller brands cannot leverage AI beyond a point. You don't have enough footprint to train your models. So that's essentially the middle of the funnel can become very complex and iterate much faster. And if you have a railroad of revenue, that the railroad of revenue can now be supercharged with content, iterations, fixes, working creatives and campaigns.
Got it. This is a good point of view for new customers. But this question, Zuzer and Sandeep, to both of you, given the type of industry you are in, for an existing customer, where in both your industries, the opportunity to get the investor to invest more is multifold if the journey is going proper, the funds are performing, etc. So for existing customer, what do you think would be that? Because what he's talked about is experimentation at scale, experimentation both on the creatives, experimentation on the messaging, experimentation on the segmentation. Those are the three in my mind. How do you see this translating to an existing customer journey?
So to me, I think they aren't very different, honestly, because what you're trying in particularly in a financial services industry, at least from the time for the industry that I belong to, and Sandeep has worked extensively in that industry too. For us, both an existing customer and a prospective customer are very important. The existing customer obviously is far more important because he's already got money with us, right? And I think it's about making sure that if I look at it from a business perspective, I think I look at it from two elements. One is growth, okay, which he spoke about extensively, but the other bit is also about how can I save costs, right? Because that's another very critical bit to add to your bottom line in a way. If I had to pitch an idea, and since you brought the question out about pitching it to the CFO, I think CFOs tend to be very skeptical of growth, but they're very positive about saying that if you help them save costs, there is a certain positivity to that, right? And I think in our industry, unfortunately, engaging customers at scale in a personalized manner, through human interaction is virtually impossible for us, right? It's virtually impossible for us. But I think using and we're actually testing that out as a prototype in our organization to try and see if we can actually use a generative AI tool which can engage with the customer in a customized manner at a certain level of frequency and in a timely manner, because all three are very critical. And if I can do that, it at maybe 1/10 of the cost, that actually adds significant value to my bottom line. Yeah.
Got it. And Sandeep, this is critical because for the longest time, the investor for India has been localized to say a Bombay or Ahmedabad or Pune. Now this base is widening. This already started, but it is growing at a certain pace. It was difficult to expand it further at a very rapid pace because of vernaculars, people do not having financial literacy, n number of things, right? Now that it has started from that perspective, which is expansion to the heartland of the country, and catering to them regularly and helping them invest more in this particular asset class. How do you see that journeys getting impacted? What are the most important use cases that you foresee that will really change that?
Yeah, again, a great question. I think there are 3 or 4 pieces which are at play in tandem. And by the way, just to correct that a little bit, it was never about lack of education, right? As Jose said earlier, it was about the decisioning and the behavior. People knew all the GAN, but they felt mutual funds are risky, and so therefore I will stay away from it. My FD is better. So mutual fund sahi hai, change that, right? So the risk-taking ability is really the driving force rather than somebody explaining something in Tamil or Malayalam or Marathi or whatever. But then there are 4 different factors at play. leveraging its full potential. And then therefore it is going to be a gradual play, and those organizations will win who define the use cases extremely well, who put the money where their mouth is in terms of the talent and the processes that are set behind it, and then get a gradual expansion mode, because BFS at the end of the day is all about trust. Doing it wrong has a huge cost of later on having to pay at a long term. So yes, gradual and in a calibrated manner is the way to go.
Zuzar, you had something to add. I think you were thinking on it.
So I think I'd just like to say that unlike a lot of other industries, including the financial services industry, if you had to go back 25, 30, 50 years ago, I think the wait and watch game played out very well, because the guy who started first wasn't really running ahead at 100 kilometers an hour, right? My fear is that the wait and watch game here may actually backfire, okay, on organizations which are essentially waiting and just watching. Because if this comes out right for one person, your ability to catch up with that person will pretty much be impossible. Okay. And I think that is something that all of us as organizations need to realize, that yes, the wait and watch game worked very well 50, 100 years ago, but if technology is running at 200 miles an hour, and if someone gets it right and gets into that car early, for you to chase up somebody who's traveling at 200 miles an hour is very, very difficult.
Fantastic. Guys, I had a ball having this conversation. I enjoyed it very much. Audience, I hope you have enjoyed it as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we'd also like to take the opportunity of inviting Hemant Arora, VP Global Ad Business from Truecaller, to please join us and help us in giving a token of appreciation to all our speakers. May I request and urge our speakers to please now join us in the center stage forward. Allow us to capture you in one frame. First, if we can have you all as a group together. We of course want these faces to have the biggest smiles towards the end, and that can happen when you give them that applause. So ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with our gratitude. And of course, now if I may request our leader to felicitate all our speakers, starting with Deepak. Thank you so much. Zuzar, thank you so much for joining us. Some friends meeting us on the platform. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Niyati. Thank you for joining in. And thank you so much to our moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Hemant. Let's give him once again a warm round of applause. And thank you. Thank you so much. So well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, what an excellent conclusion it has been for all of us. Once again, we'd like you to congratulate the team, and one final request. Can we have a mighty round of applause for both dentsu and e4m? This is their 10th edition of the report, and it's only and only through your support. So once again, a big thank you to all of you for joining us. The next 10 forces shaping the next decade of Indian media. Do access the report through the QR code if you still haven't got an opportunity. We'll now see you for drinks and dinner, and let's have a great time networking and getting to know one another better. This is me, Bhavna Bhatia, signing off for today, and we hope to see you in our future events. Thank you and God bless.